The call that saved her. A broken waitress dialed the city's most dangerous man. What he did next shocked everyone. She had 30 seconds before the door came down. Her arm was shattered, her phone was cracked, and the only thing standing between her and the man who'd been breaking her for 7 years was a cheap bathroom lock and a business card she'd hidden in her bra for 11 months. She dialed the number. A voice answered on the second ring. Calm, quiet, and somehow more terrifying than the fist pounding on the other side of the door. "Stay on the line," he said. "I'm already coming. If you want to know what happened next, how one phone call burned an entire life to the ground and built something new from the ashes, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop the name of the city you're watching from in the comments so I can see how far this story has traveled tonight." Now, let's begin. The rain in Ashford Heights didn't fall that night so much as it leaned, slanting sideways against the windows of Mel's diner like it was trying to get inside and warm up. It was the kind of late October rain that made the neon sign out front buzz and flicker, painting the wet asphalt of Route 9 in sick pink and yellow pulses. Inside, the diner smelled like burnt coffee, bacon grease, and the lemon cleaner Dottie used to mop the checkered floor every night at 10. Lena Carter was running on 4 hours of sleep and half a turkey sandwich she'd eaten standing up in the walk-in freezer at 2 that afternoon. "Order up, honey," Dottie called from the pass, sliding 2 plates under the heat lamp. "Table 6, and tell that trucker his eggs are over easy, not over hard. I'm not making them again." "Got it." Lena balanced the plates on her left forearm the way she'd learned to when she was 19, the way her mother had taught her before the cancer took her. She was 28 now. She didn't feel 28. Some mornings she caught her reflection in the stainless steel of the coffee urn and didn't recognize the woman staring back. The hollow under the cheekbones, the way her eyes moved before her head did. Scanning, always scanning. Door, parking lot, door again. Habits. "Here you go, sweetheart," she said to the trucker, setting his plate down with a practiced smile that didn't reach anywhere near her eyes. "More coffee, please, and a slice of that apple pie if Dottie hasn't hidden it from me again." "She definitely has. I'll dig it out." The trucker laughed. He was a regular. Earl, or Earl something. He had a wife in Oklahoma and a granddaughter whose picture he kept in his wallet, and he tipped an exact change that always added up to 15%. He was a good man, Lena could tell. She'd gotten very good at telling. She poured his coffee and moved to the next table. The bell over the door jangled. 2 college kids, drenched, laughing about something on one of their phones. They took a booth by the window. She grabbed menus. Her left wrist hurt. It had been hurting since Tuesday, when Derek had grabbed her by it in the kitchen because she'd forgotten to pick up his dry cleaning. He hadn't even been that angry. That was the thing. The small squeezes, the quick twists, those were his love taps. Those were his reminders. The real storms came when she couldn't see them arriving. "You want the special, babe?" she asked the kids. "Meatloaf tonight. It's not terrible." "Ringing endorsement," the girl said, smiling. "I don't work for tips. I work for honesty." "You do work for tips." "Then the meatloaf's incredible, life-changing. People weep." The boy laughed. The girl ordered a grilled cheese. The boy ordered the meatloaf just to spite her. This was the part of her life Lena could still recognize as hers. The counter. The orders. The stupid little jokes with strangers. For 11 hours a day, 5 days a week, she was Lena Carter, the waitress with the quick mouth and the tired eyes. Not Lena, Derek's girlfriend. Not Lena, the woman whose upstairs neighbors had stopped knocking on the floor because they'd figured out it made things worse. Just Lena, the waitress. She needed this job the way some people needed oxygen. Dottie caught her at the pass around 10, when the dinner rush was finally sputtering to its end. "Sit down for 5, girl. You're about to fall over." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're vertical. Those aren't the same thing." Dottie jerked her chin toward the corner booth where the staff ate. 5 minutes. I'm not asking." Lena slid into the booth. Dottie brought her a Coke and a plate of fries nobody had ordered. "Eat." "I'm not hungry." "I didn't ask if you were hungry. Eat." Dottie was 63, divorced twice, a grandmother of 4, and approximately 5 feet of compressed Kentucky stubbornness. Her hair was the color of a fire hydrant, and her apron had a coffee stain that had been there since 2019. She was the closest thing to family Lena had left. "How's your wrist?" Dottie said, quiet. Lena flinched. She hadn't thought Dottie had noticed. "It's fine." I slipped in the bathroom. Uh-huh. Dottie. I'm not saying anything. I'm eating a French fry. Dottie ate a French fry. I'm just a woman eating a French fry and minding her own business and thinking about how my cousin Ruth in Lexington has a spare room and a couch that pulls out and nobody asking her any questions. Dottie. I'm just saying. Please don't. Dottie looked at her for a long second. Her eyes were soft and awful, the way kind eyes can be awful when you don't want to be seen. Honey, I've been watching you for 3 years. I'm not blind and I'm not stupid. I'm just patient. When you're ready, you say the word. That's all. Ruth's house. One phone call. I don't ask anything else. Lena stared at the fries. Eat, Dottie said, and then go home. And be careful. Be careful. 2 words Lena had been hearing her whole adult life. She clocked out at 11. She changed out of her uniform in the cramped employee restroom, the one with the door that didn't quite latch and the mirror with the long crack down the left side. She stared at herself for a minute. Her hair was up in a ponytail she'd redone 3 times during the shift. Her eyes were gray. Her mother's eyes. There was a bruise on her collarbone the shape of a thumb, hidden now under the neckline of her sweater. Her purse was on the shelf by the door. She grabbed it, and as she did, something fell out and bounced on the tile floor. A business card. White, heavy cardstock. A single name embossed in black. V. Moreau. A phone number. Nothing else. Lena stared at it where it had landed by the baseboard. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then she bent down, slowly, and picked it up. She turned it over in her fingers. The edges were soft from being carried in her bra for the last 11 months, pressed against her ribs every day like a splinter she couldn't bring herself to pull out. She'd almost thrown it away a dozen times. She slid it back into the inside of her purse, in the zippered pocket where she kept her tips. She told herself she'd throw it away tomorrow. She'd been telling herself that for 11 months. The apartment she shared with Derek was on the 3rd floor of a brown brick building on Linden Street, above a laundromat that never closed, and a Chinese takeout place called Golden Dragon that had been out of egg rolls every time she'd ever ordered them. The stairwell smelled like dryer sheets and old grease. The hallway light on the 2nd floor landing had been flickering since spring. Derek had promised the super he'd fix it. Derek had not fixed it. Lena stood outside apartment 3B for a full 30 seconds before she put the key in the lock. This was the worst part of every day. Not the shift, not the feet that throbbed or the back that ached. This. The 30 seconds before the door. The breath she had to take to decide which version of herself was going to walk through it. She tried to read the room through the door. Was the TV on? Yes. What was playing? Sports, some kind of football. Was he alone? Hard to tell. Was he drinking? She couldn't know until she was inside. She slid the key in and turned it. Hey, she said soft. I'm home. Derek was on the couch, work boots on the coffee table, a can of something. Beer, but not the cheap stuff, the IPA he'd gotten into lately, sweating onto a magazine she'd meant to throw out. He didn't look up. You're late. I'm not. It's 11:20. You said 11. Rush was bad. Dottie made me close out the drawer. Dottie. He said it like a slur. Dottie's a dyke. Dottie's 63 and has 4 grandchildren. Yeah, and she's a dyke. He finally looked at her. His eyes were glassy. 3 beers in. Maybe 4. You eat? I had a salad at work. I'm hungry. I can make you something. Make me a sandwich, turkey. The good bread, not the brown one. Okay. She set her purse down on the little table by the door. She hung her jacket. She did all of this carefully, not because she was afraid of what he'd do, but because she was afraid of what she'd do. Because some nights the wanting to scream felt so big in her chest that she was sure he could see it, and if he saw it, he'd punish her for it. And if he punished her for it, she wasn't sure which version of her would come back out. She made the sandwich. White bread, turkey, mayonnaise, not mustard, never mustard. A slice of American cheese, no tomato, no lettuce. She cut it diagonally because he hated it cut straight. She brought it to him on a plate. Chips? We don't have any. Why don't we have any? Because you ate the last of them last night and I haven't been to the store. His jaw worked. She watched it work and tried to read the weather in it. You worked all day, he said, and you couldn't stop at the store. I worked a double, Dare. I left the house at 6 this morning. So? So the store's not on the way back. It's 5 blocks. I know, I'll go tomorrow, I promise. He took the sandwich. He took a bite. He chewed slowly, watching her the whole time, and she stood there in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room, like a woman waiting to see if the animal across the room was going to keep eating or stand up and charge. It kept eating. She let herself breathe. I'm going to shower, she said. Yeah. She went to the bathroom. She locked the door. Not loud. Not in a way he'd hear. Just a soft turn of the little button on the knob. She ran the water. She sat on the edge of the tub and put her face in her hands, and she did not cry, because if she cried, her eyes would be red and he would notice. And if he noticed, he would ask why. And if he asked why, there was no answer she could give him that didn't end badly. So she breathed. She counted to 60. She stood up, took off her clothes, and got in the shower. The water was hot. The bruise on her collarbone throbbed. She leaned her forehead against the tile and closed her eyes. She thought about the business card. She had met him 11 months ago, Marchette. It had been a Tuesday. Slow night. Raining then, too. Ashford Heights had 2 weathers, wet and about to be wet, and the diner had been nearly empty. Just a couple of truckers, an old man reading a paperback, and a man in the corner booth she had never seen before. He'd come in alone at 9:40. He'd hung his coat, black wool, expensive looking, the kind of coat that didn't come off a rack at the Walmart out by the highway, on the hook by the booth. He'd sat down and ordered coffee, black, and a piece of whatever pie wasn't apple. We only got apple and cherry tonight, hun. Cherry, then. Coming up. She'd brought him the coffee and the pie. He'd said thank you. He'd eaten slowly, the way men who weren't actually hungry ate. 1 bite, a sip of coffee, another bite, a long pause. He'd been reading something on his phone. He was maybe 35, maybe 40, hard to tell. Dark hair, graying at the temples. A face you wouldn't remember unless you had reason to remember it. She'd refilled his coffee twice. Derek had come in at 10:15. This, she would come to understand later, was the part that had mattered. Derek had come in drunk, loud, looking for her because she hadn't answered a text. He'd grabbed her wrist, the same wrist, always that wrist, and he'd started hissing at her in that low voice he used in public, the one that didn't carry, but that made her whole body go cold. Where's my goddamn truck, Lena? I told you. Dare, I'm working, please. I don't care if you're working. Where's the truck? Your mother picked it up this morning. She was supposed to... Don't lie to me. I'm not lying. The grip had tightened. She'd felt the bones of her wrist grind. Excuse me. The voice had come from the corner booth. Calm. Quiet. Not raised at all. But something in it had made Derek let go of her wrist like it had burned him. The man had been standing. He hadn't moved fast. He hadn't puffed up. He just stood up from his booth and walked over, and he'd put himself between Lena and Derek in a way that wasn't aggressive, but that somehow made it clear that no further motion was going to be permitted. Miss, he'd said, not looking at her, are you all right? I'm fine. She's fine, Derek had said. This is a family thing. You don't need to... I'm not speaking to you. It had been said so flat. Not angry. Just the way you'd say the water's off to a plumber. A statement of fact. The air in the diner had changed. Derek, to his credit, had known on some animal level that this was not a man to swing at. I'm fine, Lena had said again, fast. I'm fine, sir, really. He's my boyfriend. We're fine. The man had looked at her then, just for a second. His eyes were the color of wet slate. They didn't look angry. They looked, Lena had thought later, the way a surgeon looked at an X-ray. All right, he'd said. He'd gone back to his booth. He'd finished his coffee. He'd left a $100 bill on the table for a $6 check, and on his way out, he'd stopped at the counter where she was pretending to wipe down the register, and he'd slid a small white card across the laminate. If you change your mind, he'd said, quiet, about being fine. And he'd walked out into the rain. She'd looked at the card. V. Moreau O. A phone number. She'd almost thrown it away. She hadn't. Set. The shower had gone cold. Lena turned it off and stood there, shivering, the bruise on her collarbone pulsing like a second heartbeat. She dried off. She put on the oversized t-shirt she slept in. She brushed her teeth without looking at herself in the mirror. When she came out of the bathroom, Derek was still on the couch. The sandwich was gone. 2 more beer cans had joined the first. "Come here." "Dare, I'm tired." "Come here." She went. She sat on the arm of the couch. He pulled her down into his lap. He kissed her neck, sloppy, the beer sour on his breath. She did not pull away. She had learned, a long time ago, not to pull away. "I love you," he said. "I love you too. I'm sorry about the chips. It's okay. I had a bad day. I know. I'm going to do better. I'm going to be better. I know, baby." He fell asleep on her shoulder, eventually. She sat under the dead weight of him for 40 minutes, watching the football game she did not care about. And when she was sure he was out, she extracted herself slowly, a limb at a time, the way a woman disarms a bomb. She put a blanket over him. She turned off the TV. She went to bed. She did not sleep. It was a Thursday when everything changed. Thursdays were Derek's poker nights. He played in the basement of a bar called the Iron Horse, with 4 other men Lena did not like. 2 cops, a mechanic, and Derek's cousin Ray, who had been to prison twice and who looked at Lena in a way she didn't let herself think about. Derek left at 7 on Thursdays. He came home at 1 or 2 in the morning. He was always drunk. He was sometimes up money and sometimes down, and the down nights were the dangerous ones. Lena's shift ended at 9. She was off the clock at 9:04. She was walking home at 9:07. She was on Linden Street, half a block from the apartment, at 9:19, and it was at 9:19 that her phone buzzed in her pocket. She looked at it. Come home. Now. 4 beers in, she guessed. Maybe 5. And down. Definitely down. She stopped on the sidewalk. The rain had started again. Soft, more mist than rain. She looked up at the window of the apartment. The light was on. She could see the flicker of the TV through the curtain. Her heart was doing something strange. She thought about Dottie, Ruth's house. 1 phone call. She thought about the business card. She thought about her mother, who had died in a bed at St. Luke's with Lena holding her hand, and who had said, "Baby, don't settle. Not for any of it. Not for a man, not for a job, not for a town." "You hear me? I hear you, Mama. Say it. I won't settle." Lena stood on the sidewalk in the mist, and she realized with a kind of clarity she hadn't felt in years that she had settled for everything. She went up the stairs. She knew, walking up, that tonight was bad. She didn't know how she knew. She just knew. The building smelled the same. The flickering light on the 2nd floor still flickered. Nothing was different. But she knew. She put her key in the door. Derek was not on the couch. He was standing in the middle of the living room. "Where were you?" "Work." "Work ends at 9. It's 9:22. It's 9:26. Where were you?" "I was walking home. It's raining. I walked slow." "You were with someone." "What? No. No. I was at work. You can call Dottie. You can—" "Don't tell me who to call." He was across the room faster than she'd ever seen him move. His hand closed around her upper arm. Not her wrist this time, higher, and his fingers dug in past the muscle down to the bone. And she made a sound that wasn't quite a scream because the scream hadn't made it up her throat yet. "I said, where were you?" "I was at work, dear. Please, you're—" His other hand came up. It wasn't a slap she could have taken. This was a closed fist, and it caught her on the side of the head above her ear, and the whole world went white for a second. And when she came back, she was on her knees on the carpet, and her ear was ringing, and there was something warm on the side of her face. "Get up. Get up." She tried to get up. Her legs weren't working right. He grabbed her by the hair and hauled her up and shoved her against the wall by the kitchen, and he was saying something, a lot of things, but the words were coming through water. She could see his mouth moving. She could see the vein in his forehead. She could smell the whiskey on him. Not just beer tonight. Whiskey too, which meant the poker game had gone worse than bad. "Think I'm stupid, Lena. You think I don't. Who is he? There's no one. Who is he?" He slammed her shoulder into the wall. Something happened in her left arm. A sound that came from inside her body. A crack, dry and final, like a piece of kindling snapping underfoot in a quiet forest. The pain arrived a full second after the sound. She screamed. She couldn't help it. It came out of her like something being torn, and he hit her again, across the face this time, to shut her up, and then he just stopped. He stepped back. He looked at her against the wall, cradling the arm that was no longer the right shape, and something moved in his face. Not regret, calculation. He had gone too far. He knew it. She knew it. They both knew it. "Jesus," he said. "Jesus, Lena, look what you made me." She wasn't looking at him. She was looking past him, at her purse on the little table by the door. The purse with the zippered pocket with the card in it. I need to sit down. Lena, I didn't mean, I'm gonna throw up. Baby, I'm gonna throw up, Dare. I have to. The bathroom, please." It was the word please that did it. He heard the submission in it, the apology of it, and his whole body loosened a notch because submission was the language he spoke. Submission was the air he breathed, and for a half second he was not afraid of what she was about to do, because women who said please did not do things. "Go," he said. "Go, clean yourself up." She moved. Her right arm worked. Her left did not. She grabbed the strap of her purse with her right hand as she passed the table, and she moved so smoothly through the motion. So like a woman just grabbing a purse on her way to the bathroom to clean up, not a woman stealing her own purse from her own apartment, that he didn't even register she'd done it. She went into the bathroom. She closed the door. She locked it. She slid the little bolt across, the one Derek had mounted himself last summer when he'd been having a good week, joking about giving her privacy, and she thanked the universe and Derek's dumb pride for the fact that it was a real bolt, brass, the kind that took 3 screws and a backplate, and not the flimsy push button that came standard. "Lena?" She didn't answer. "Lena, open the door." Her left arm was screaming. She looked down at it. It was bent wrong between the wrist and the elbow, the skin already darkening, already swelling. The bone hadn't come through. Small mercy. "Lena, open the goddamn door." She sat down on the toilet lid. She put the purse in her lap. She unzipped the inside pocket with her right hand, her fingers shaking so hard she could barely work the zipper. The card was there, soft-edged, warm from her body. V. Moreau. A phone number. Derek hit the door. Not hard yet. A warning. "Lena, I swear to God." She took her phone out of her pocket. The screen was cracked. A hairline crack across the lower left corner where she'd dropped it in the parking lot of the diner last week. It still worked. She pressed her thumb to it. It opened. She stared at the card in her hand. 11 months of carrying it. 11 months of telling herself she was going to throw it out. 11 months of a phone number sitting an inch from her heart. She thought about Dottie's cousin Ruth and the spare room in Lexington. Ruth was hours away. Ruth would take time. Ruth meant a bus and a story and a plan, and right now, tonight, on the other side of this door, there was a man whose fist could reach her in the time it took a deadbolt to fail. She looked at the card. She dialed. Derek hit the door again. Harder this time. The frame shuddered. The phone rang. Once. Twice. "Please," she whispered, to no one. To the ceiling, to her mother, to whatever was listening. "Please, please, please." The line clicked. Moreau. His voice. The same voice. Calm, low, a little rough at the edges, like he'd just been reading a book and had set a finger in it to keep his place. "Sir," she said, and her voice came out a rag. "Sir, you won't remember me. Where are you?" "What? Where are you? What's your address?" "How did you—" "Address, miss. 3B, 417 Linden Street, Ashford Heights, above the laundromat. Oh God, he's—" Something enormous hit the door. The frame cracked. A long vertical split appeared down the middle, from the knob up toward the top hinge. "Stay on the line," Moreau said. "Please. I'm already coming. I'm in a car. I've been in a car. I want you to listen to me very carefully. Is there a window in the room you're in?" "A small one. It's painted shut. It's too small. I couldn't—" "Don't try to climb through it. Is the door locked?" "Yes, but he's—" "What kind of lock?" "A bolt. A real bolt, but how many screws?" "What?" "In the back plate. How many screws?" "3. 3, I think." "Is there a tub in the room?" "Yes." "Get in it. Lie down in it. On the side away from the door. Keep the phone to your ear, and do not hang up no matter what happens. If the door comes down before I get there, I need you to know, Do not fight him. Do not try to run past him. Curl up, cover your head, and wait. I am very close. Do you understand me? Yes. Say it. I understand. What's your name? Lena. Lena what? Carter. Lena Carter. Lena Carter, I'm going to be at your door in under 4 minutes. Get in the tub. She got in the tub. The porcelain was cold against her back through the t-shirt. Her arm screamed when she moved it, and she bit down on the inside of her cheek until she tasted blood. She kept the phone pressed to her ear with her good hand. On the other end, she could hear him. She could hear the soft sound of a car moving fast, the hum of tires on wet pavement, the faint click of a turn signal. Derek hit the door again. This time the top hinge gave. The door bowed inward at the top, a triangle of hallway light spilling through the gap. Lena! He's coming in, she whispered into the phone. He's coming in. Oh, God! How long until the door goes? I don't. 30 seconds, maybe less. Is there anything in the bathroom you can use as a weapon? She looked around wildly. Toothbrushes, a hairdryer, the toilet tank lid. The toilet lid, the ceramic. If he comes through, wait until he's leaning over the tub. Do not swing until he's leaning over. Aim for the temple, not the top of the head. Temple. Say it back to me. Temple. Good girl. Lena, listen to me. If it comes to that, you will not hesitate. You will not think about who he used to be. You will do what you need to do to be alive when I get there. Do you understand? She was crying. She didn't remember starting. I understand. 3 minutes. The door hit again. The bolt groaned. One of the screws in the backplate tore free and pinged off the tile floor. Lena, you are not alone. I am on the phone with you. I am coming. Stay with me. I'm here. Tell me what you can see. The door. The crack in the door. It's splitting. Tell me what you did at work today. What? Tell me what you did at work today. Right now. I worked a double. I had a trucker at table 6, Earl. He wanted apple pie, but Dottie hit it. Who's Dottie? She's my boss. She's my friend. She told me about her cousin Ruth in Lexington. There's a spare room. 2 minutes, Lena. The door hit again. The second hinge gave. The top half of the door folded inward on itself like a broken wing. Through the gap, she could see Derek's shoulder, his elbow, the swing of his fist coming back again. Lena, stay in the tub. Do not get up. Whatever he says, whatever he does, do not get up. Okay. 1 more minute. Lena. Derek's face in this gap. Red, sweating, his hair stuck to his forehead, his eyes. She had known those eyes for 7 years, and she had never, in 7 years, seen what she saw in them now. Not anger, not jealousy. Something blank. Something that had run out of whatever it was supposed to have. Get out here. She did not answer. Get out here, Lena, or I swear to God. The door hit again, and this time the bolt itself tore out of the frame, and the whole door sagged inward, held now only by the bottom hinge and the splintered remnant of the jamb. 1 more hit, and it would be open. Moreau? I'm on your street. Lena, I'm on your street. He's coming through. I see the building, gray brick, laundromat. Yes. She heard something then, faintly, through the phone and also through the wall of the apartment. A car door. Not slammed, closed. A door closed by someone who was not in a rush because rushing was for people who hadn't already decided how this was going to go. Lena, I'm coming up the stairs. Do not move. Derek kicked the door. The bottom hinge gave. The door came down. He stepped over it into the bathroom. His feet, work boots, the same work boots that had been on the coffee table an hour ago, crunched on the splinters. He saw her in the tub. His face did something she didn't have a word for. You called someone. She didn't answer. Who the fuck did you call? He took a step toward the tub. Then another. He was leaning over her, the way Moreau had said he would, and her right hand was already moving toward the toilet lid, and she was going to do it. She was going to swing. She was going to aim for the temple. A voice from the apartment behind him, calm, quiet, not raised at all. Step away from her. Derek turned, standing in the wreckage of the bathroom doorway, in a black coat beaded with rain, perfectly still, with his hands in his pockets and his face doing nothing at all, was Victor Moreau. He looked at Derek. He looked past Derek, at Lena in the tub, and for the briefest second something crossed his face, something that was gone before she could name it. And then it was gone, and he was looking at Derek again with the eyes of a surgeon reading an X-ray. "I said," Moreau said, and his voice was the softest thing in the room, "Step away from her." Derek stepped away from her. Lena understood in that moment that her life had just ended. She did not yet understand that another one was about to begin. Derek did not step away from her so much as he drifted back, one slow shuffle of a work boot at a time, like a man who had just realized the floor beneath him was not floor at all, but the thin crust over something much deeper. His chest was still heaving. His right hand, the one he'd broken her arm with, hung at his side half-curled, the knuckles raw. Lena, in the tub, watched his shoulders try to square themselves and fail. "Who the hell are you?" Moreau didn't answer. He wasn't looking at Derek anymore. He had stepped past the broken door frame, into the bathroom, and he was looking at Lena. His eyes went from her face to the arm she was cradling, to the bruise already blooming purple and yellow along her jaw, to the blood on her temple where her ear had split open when she'd hit the wall. He did all of this in maybe 3 seconds. Then he was looking at Derek again. "I asked you a question. I heard you. Then answer it." "I'm a friend of hers." "You're not her friend." "I'm her husband." "You're not her husband." "I'm her—" "Lena," Moreau said without turning his head. "Is this man your husband?" "No," she whispered. "Is he on the lease?" "No." "Does he have a legal right to be in this apartment?" "It's my apartment. It's in my name. I pay the rent." Moreau looked at Derek for a long beat. "Then you," he said, "are a trespasser." Derek laughed. Came out wrong. High, and a little loose. The laugh of a man who didn't know yet whether he was still dangerous or whether he had already become something else. "A trespasser, in my own—" "Step out of the bathroom." "You don't tell me what to—" "Step out of the bathroom, or I will put you on the floor." It was said so quietly, there was no threat in it at all. That was what did it. Threats were performances. Threats were something men did when they were still trying to decide whether the thing was going to happen. This wasn't a threat. This was a weather report. Derek stepped out of the bathroom. He backed out, actually, one work boot at a time, his eyes not leaving Moreau's face. And when he was all the way out in the hallway of the apartment, Moreau followed him, still with his hands in his pockets, still with his coat beaded in rain. He stopped in the bathroom doorway and half turned back toward the tub. "Lena, I'm going to need you to stay exactly where you are for another 2 minutes. Can you do that?" "Yes." "The arm, is it the forearm or the upper arm?" "Forearm, left, open or closed?" "Closed, I think. The skin's it's not broken." "Good. Breathe through your nose, short breaths. Don't try to move it. 2 minutes. Okay?" He turned back to Derek, and then, for the first time, something shifted in his face. It wasn't anger. Anger would have been simpler. It was a kind of terrible patience, the patience of a man who had not been in a hurry about anything for a very long time. "What's your name?" "Screw you. What's your name?" "Derek." "Derek what?" "Derek Whalen." "Derek Whalen." Moreau said the name like he was tasting something that had sat out too long. "Sit down." "What?" "On the couch. Sit down." "Buddy, I don't know who you think you are. Victor Moreau. Sit down." Lena from inside the tub saw Derek's face change the way a face changes when a man who has been bluffing is suddenly shown the cards. She did not know then why the name meant anything to Derek. She would learn. Derek's cousin Ray had been to prison twice, and the second time had been because of things that had to do, in a roundabout and mostly rumored way, with the collapse of a contracting business that had been quietly operating out of a warehouse 2 towns over. A contracting business that had, according to Ray, been quietly and thoroughly dismantled in the space of about 6 weeks by a man nobody met and nobody saw, whose name, when it was said at all, was said only in the low register of the Iron Horse basement, the register men used when they were talking about things they were afraid of. Derek sat down on the couch. Moreau crossed the living room. He did not sit. He stood in the middle of the rug, hands still in his pockets, and he looked down at Derek the way a man looks down at a tax form. "Here is what is going to happen," he said. "In a moment, a woman named Esther is going to walk through that door. She is a nurse. She is going to go into the bathroom and she is going to splint Lena's arm, and then she and I are going to take Lena downstairs to a car, and Lena is going to leave this apartment. You are going to sit on that couch, and you are not going to stand up. You are not going to speak. You are not going to reach for your phone. You are not going to reach for anything. Do you understand what I have said so far? Derek's mouth opened. I didn't ask for commentary. A nod will be fine. Derek nodded. Good. After Lena is safely in the car, I'm going to come back up these stairs, and you and I are going to have a conversation. That conversation will not be loud. It will not be violent. Nobody downstairs is going to call the police because nothing will happen in this apartment that would give them a reason to. When that conversation is over, I am going to leave, and you are going to stay here. And tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up, and your life will not be the life you woke up in yesterday. I want you to sit with that sentence for a moment. Derek was very pale. His mouth was open a little. The tendon in his jaw was jumping. You can't just... Derek, do you know how many times in the last 11 months I have driven past this building? Derek blinked. I don't... Guess. I don't know. More than once. Fewer than 100. I would like you to understand that this phone call tonight was not the beginning of anything. It was the end of something that has been taking a very long time to end. He said it the way another man might say, it looks like rain. Lena, in the tub, felt something go through her chest that was not relief and was not gratitude. It was older than those things and stranger. Somebody had been paying attention. Somebody had been paying attention for 11 months, and she had not known. There was a soft, unhurried knock at the apartment door. Come in, Esther. The door opened. The woman who came through it was in her 50s, small, built like a retired gymnast, gray-black hair pulled back in a tight braid. She was wearing jeans and a fleece jacket, and she was carrying a black duffel bag. She took in the room with one clean sweep of her eyes. The broken bathroom door, the man on the couch, Moreau standing in the rug, and she made a small, professional sound that was not surprise. Bathroom? Bathroom. She went past him without another word. Lena heard her feet cross the tile. Then a gentle, practiced voice, the kind of voice used by women who have been in a great many rooms like this one. Hey, sweetie. I'm Esther. I'm a nurse. Victor called me. I'm going to take a look at that arm, okay? I'm going to be slow, and I'm going to tell you before I do anything. Can I come closer? Yes. Esther knelt beside the tub. Her hands moved over Lena's arm the way a gardener's hands move over a plant with a broken stem. Careful, without hesitation, already planning the splint, already evaluating the color of the fingers, already pressing 2 fingers to Lena's wrist to count the pulse below the break. Radial's good. Cap refill's good. It's a clean break, honey. It's gonna heal. You're gonna be fine. It hurts? I know it does. I've got something for that in the bag. I'm going to give you 2 pills, and then we're going to splint it, and then we're going to move you. And by the time we get where we're going, that arm is going to be a problem we've already started solving. Okay? Okay. You're doing great. I'm not. You are. You're in a tub. You're talking. You called for help. That's 3 for 3, sweetheart. That's 100% on the test. Lena laughed. It came out cracked and wet and a little deranged, and Esther did not react to it at all, just kept her hands moving, kept her voice moving, and the steady, unhurried sanity of her was a kind of medicine in itself. In the living room, Moreau had not moved. Derek had not moved. Where are you taking her? Derek said, finally. His voice was smaller than it had been. Somewhere. She is not yours. I want to be very precise with you on this point, Derek, because I think precision is something you have struggled with tonight. She was never yours. She lived with you. She cooked for you. She endured you. Those are not the same thing as being yours. You have spent 7 years confused about this. The confusion ends tonight. I love her. It came out of Derek like something he hadn't meant to say. It sat in the room for a second. Moreau looked at him, and his face did not change, and he did not, for the small mercy of it, laugh. I'm sure that you believe that. I'm sure that in some room in your head that you don't visit very often, you believe it quite deeply. It doesn't matter. What you feel about her is the smallest, least interesting fact in this room. What matters is what you have done to her. And what you have done to her is going to be the rest of our conversation. Esther came out of the bathroom with her arm around Lena's good side. Lena was on her feet, barely, her left arm splinted against her chest in a bright blue immobilizer, her face gray, her eyes glassy from whatever Esther had put in her mouth. Esther had wrapped her in the bathrobe that had been hanging on the door and put a pair of slip-on shoes on her feet. Lena's shoes, the cheap canvas ones she wore around the apartment. "We're going down," Esther said. Moreau nodded. He did not look at Lena. Lena understood, without being told, that he was not looking at her on purpose, that he had calculated, somewhere in the clockwork of him, that she did not need to be looked at right now, that being looked at by a man was a thing she had had enough of for one evening. The care of that registered in her somewhere she did not have language for. Esther walked her past the couch. Lena's eyes slid once to Derek. He was sitting with his hands on his knees like a boy in a principal's office. He opened his mouth. "Lena, do not," Moreau said. "Say her name." Derek closed his mouth. They went out the door. Esther took her slowly down the stairs one at a time, the way you walk an old woman downstairs, and Lena made it to the second-floor landing before her knees started to go, and Esther took more of her weight without comment. The flickering light flickered. The hallway smelled like dryer sheets and old grease. It was the same building it had been half an hour ago. It was not the same building at all. At the bottom of the stairs, on the sidewalk, there was a car. Black, four-door, the kind of car a man drove when he did not want to be noticed and also did not want to be mistaken for poor. A driver was out, standing by the open rear door, a big man with a shaved head and a coat too light for the weather. He did not speak. He took one of the shopping bags Esther was carrying, bags Lena had not noticed Esther carrying, and he helped Esther get Lena settled in the back seat. "Water," Esther said, handing her a bottle. "Small sips. The pills will hit in about 10 more minutes, and then you're going to get sleepy, and that's okay. We're 20 minutes out." "Out of where?" "Where we're going." "Where are we going?" "Someplace safe, sweetheart. That's all the information you need tonight. Tomorrow you can ask the big questions. Tonight, you drink water." Lena drank water. She turned her head carefully and looked up at the third-floor window of apartment 3B. The light was still on. The curtain moved once. Then she saw Moreau, still in his black coat, still with his hands in his pockets, walking back into the building. He did not look back at the car. The door of the building closed behind him. "What's going to happen to him?" Lena whispered. Esther got in beside her and closed the door. "Nothing," Esther said, "that he hasn't earned." The car pulled away from the curb. Lena fell asleep before they hit the highway. She woke up later to a hand on her good shoulder and a voice saying her name. And for a second she did not know where she was, or why her left arm was wrapped in blue, or why the ceiling above her was high and coffered and painted a soft cream, instead of the water-stained popcorn of the apartment on Linden Street. Esther was leaning over her. "You're okay. You fell asleep in the car. We carried you in. I'm sorry about that. I know being carried by strangers isn't on anybody's bucket list, but you needed to sleep and we needed to move, and here we are. You're in a house. The house is Victor's. You're in a guest room on the second floor. There's a bathroom through that door. There's a dresser with some clothes in it that are not your clothes, but that are your approximate size. There is water on the nightstand, and there is a phone on the nightstand that is not yours either, but that is yours now if you want it. Nobody is going to come into this room without knocking. Nobody is going to come into this room at all unless you say they can. I'm going to be in the room next door. If you need me, you say my name, and I will hear you. Do you understand what I've told you?" "I think so." "Say it back." "I'm in Victor's house. I'm in a guest room. The bathroom's there. Clothes are in the dresser. There's water and a phone. Nobody comes in unless I say so. You're next door." "Perfect. You're doing great. Go back to sleep." Lena did not go back to sleep. Esther left. Lena lay in a bed that was softer than any bed she had slept in her adult life, and she looked at the ceiling and she waited for the fear to arrive. Because in her experience, safety was the thing that came just before the next bad thing. She waited for the next bad thing. It did not come. She waited for a long time. Eventually she got up. She was stiff. The painkiller was still working through her, and her arm was a dull iron ache inside the splint, distant, belonging to someone else. She went to the window. The window looked out on a dark expanse of lawn, a driveway, a tree line, the shape of a wall beyond the trees. No streetlights. No laundromat. No golden dragon. The quiet was the kind of quiet that cost money. On the nightstand there was a phone. She picked it up. It was new. A clean glass face, no crack in the corner, a small white sticky note on the back that said, "Your number is the same. Everything is transferred." V. She stared at the sticky note for a long time. She put the phone down. She sat on the edge of the bed. She cried then, finally, and it was not a pretty cry or a cathartic cry or a movie cry. It was a wet, ugly, 7 years of it cry, the kind that came up from the bottom of a well, and she sat there on the edge of a stranger's bed in a stranger's house, and she cried until the front of her borrowed bathrobe was soaked through and her breath was coming in those short, jerking hitches that felt like being punched from the inside. She did not know how long she cried. When she stopped, there was a soft knock on the door. "Lena." Not Esther's voice, his. "Yes." "May I come in?" "Yes." The door opened. Moreau had changed his coat. The new one was gray, softer. His hair was damp. He had not, she noticed with a small, tight pulse, a mark on him anywhere. Whatever had happened in the apartment on Linden Street after she'd left, it had not happened with fists. He did not come all the way into the room. He stopped in the doorway. "Esther said you were awake. I didn't want to come up without warning. If you would rather I came back tomorrow, I can do that." "No, stay. Please." He stepped in. He did not sit on the bed. He took the chair by the window, turned it so it faced her, sat down. He kept a good distance. He put his hands on his knees where she could see them, open, not fists. "How's the arm?" I don't feel it right now." "Esther's stuff." "Good. Tomorrow morning we'll have a doctor come. Real X-ray cast, the works. If you want to go to a hospital instead, we'll go to a hospital. I wanted to ask you first." "No hospital." "Okay, doctor here." "Okay?" He nodded. There was a silence. It was not a bad silence. He did not try to fill it. "Mr. Moreau." "Victor. Victor, I don't understand what's happening. I don't know you. I don't know why you came. I don't know why your nurse, your house, why are you doing any of this? I don't have money. I can't pay you for any." "Stop." She stopped. "You are not paying me for anything. You are not going to pay me for anything. Let's get that off the table first. You don't owe me money. You don't owe me a story. You don't owe me an explanation for anything you did or didn't do tonight or any other night. You don't owe me gratitude. If you want to walk out of this house in the morning and never see me again, there is a car that will take you anywhere you want to go, and we will never meet again, and that will be the end of it. That is the truth. I want you to know that is the truth before we talk about anything else." "Okay. Okay. But why?" He looked at her. For the first time, Lena got a clean, unhurried look at his face. He was, she decided, 42 or 43. There was a thin scar along his left jawline she had not seen the first time in the diner. His eyes were tired, not exhausted. Tired in the deep way, the way men got tired who had been carrying something for a long time. 11 months ago, he said, "I came into a diner in Ashford Heights because I had a meeting in the morning at a warehouse out by exit 14, and I hate hotels, so I was driving up the night before. I ordered cherry pie because there was no other pie. A waitress brought it to me. She was kind to me in a way that people are not usually kind to strangers. She called me hon, and she made a joke about the pie. I watched her for about 30 minutes, and I understood within the first 10 what was happening to her, because I have seen it before, in rooms I grew up in, involving people I loved. When her boyfriend came in, I confirmed what I already knew. I gave her my card because I have, occasionally, given my card to women in that position, and occasionally they have called, and occasionally they have not. Most have not. I want to be honest about that. I did not expect you to call." "Then why did I answer on the second ring?" "Yes. Because for 11 months, Lena, I had my phone on me at all times with your name and number set up to ring through the silent setting. Because I have driven past that building at 3 in the morning more nights than I can easily tell you. Because I have, twice, turned the car around in the middle of the block because I was going to come up those stairs on a pretext I was going to invent on the way up, and both times I stopped myself because it was not my choice to make. It was your choice. And tonight you made it, And when you made it, I did what I had told myself for 11 months I would do. He said all of this in the same flat, quiet voice he had used with Derek. There was no self-congratulation in it. It was a confession. Lena did not know what to do with it. I don't. Why me? I don't know. You don't?
I don't. I don't have a story for you about it. You were kind. I watched someone hurt you. I had the resources to do something, and I did not know how to offer it without taking away the part of it that mattered, which was the choosing. So I gave you a card. That is the entire story. I don't want you to think that I am. I'm not in love with you, Lena. I don't know you. You don't know me. I want you to understand very clearly that this house and Esther and the car
And the doctor tomorrow morning are not payments against some future invoice. I am not like him. If at any point you get the sense that I am becoming like him, I want you to tell me, and I will step out of your life so fast it will feel like I was never in it. She looked at him. It was the cleanest speech she had ever been given by a man. She did not trust it. She could not afford to trust it. She had been in this room before, in other rooms that had started this way, with gentle words and measured promises, and she had learned very slowly, over many years, that the kindest opening could rot into the worst ending given enough time. But she also, for the first time in a very long time, did not have anywhere else to go. Where's my car? Your building's parking lot. Keys are in a kitchen drawer you don't know about yet. The car will be here tomorrow if you want it here. Or it can stay where it is. Your call. My purse, downstairs, untouched. Your phone is on the nightstand, new one. Your tips are in the purse. Your ID, your social, everything. I didn't look. Esther put the bag in the front closet. My clothes, my stuff, the apartment. Tomorrow, if you want, we can send someone to pack it. Or we can send someone to pack what you specify. Or we can leave it. It's yours. None of it's going anywhere. He's there. He is not there. He will not be there tomorrow. He will not, in fact, be anywhere that you have to think about. You don't have to make a decision about that tonight. You don't have to make a decision about anything tonight. What did you do to him? He was quiet for a long moment. I did not hit him. Then what? I had a conversation with him. I explained to him what was going to happen over the next few weeks of his life. I showed him some information I have been collecting for 11 months. He understood. I left. That is the whole of it. Information. You don't need to know tonight. You will know, eventually, all of it if you want to know. Tonight you have a broken arm, and you haven't slept in any honest way in years, and what you need is a night in a room where the door has a lock that works, and nobody knows the code except you. The door has a code. Every door on this floor does. Esther will show you in the morning. Yours will be yours. Nobody, including me, will have it. If you lock me out, I stay out. Lena looked down at the blue splint on her arm. She looked back up at him. I don't know you, she said. I know. I don't know if I'm going to know you. That's fine. I might leave in the morning. The car will be ready. I might stay a day. The room will be ready. I might stay a week. So will the room. Why? Because the room doesn't cost me anything, Lena. Because I have more rooms than I have people I like. Because somewhere in a city I don't live in anymore, my sister slept in a room like this one for 6 months when I was 19, and I could not afford to give it to her myself. And a man I did not know and could not repay gave it to her. And she got out, and she lived, and she is alive today because of that room. I am not that man. I am trying to be. He stood up. I'm going to leave you alone now. Esther is next door. If you need her, you say her name and she'll hear you. If you want me, you don't need me. But if you do, there's an intercom by the bed. The blue button is Esther. The red button is me. I'd suggest the blue button for tonight. If you want to sleep, sleep. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to break something in here, break something in here. Nothing in this room means anything to me. It is all furniture. It is yours to use. Victor, he stopped in the doorway. Yes. Thank you. He did something with his mouth that was not a smile. It was something smaller and more tired. Don't thank me tonight. Thank yourself. You called. I just answered the phone. He closed the door softly behind him. Lena lay back on the pillow. The ceiling was a long, quiet expanse of cream. Somewhere, a long way off, a clock was ticking. The rain had stopped. The silence in the room was the silence of a house that had been built with money to keep sounds out of it. For a long time, she did not move. She thought about the bathroom door splintering. She thought about the crack her arm had made against the wall. She thought about Dottie saying Ruth's house, one phone call. I don't ask any questions. She thought about Ray, Derek's cousin, and the warehouse out by exit 14, and the way Derek's face had gone when Moreau had said his name. She thought about 11 months of a card in her bra, and a man driving past her building at 3 in the morning and turning around twice because it was not his choice to make. She thought about her mother. Baby, don't settle. I hear you, Mama. Say it. I won't settle. She fell asleep with the light on. She woke up at 6 in the morning to gray dawn light and a small sound in the room, and her whole body went rigid before she understood what the sound was. Esther was setting a tray on the dresser. Coffee, toast, a glass of orange juice, a small dish of what looked like scrambled eggs, 2 pills in a tiny paper cup. I knocked. You were out. I'm sorry for coming in. I figured food was a good apology. It's okay. How's the arm? Hurts. Pills. Food first, then pills, or they'll chew a hole in your stomach. Doctor's coming at 9. His name is Dr. Silver. He's fine. He's been Victor's personal doctor for a decade. He is very good and very discreet and very boring, which is what you want in a doctor. He'll x-ray that arm right here in the room with a portable, and if it's what I think it is, he'll set it and cast it, and you'll be in a proper cast by 10. Sound all right? Yes? Anything you need between now and then?
Lena stopped. My boss, Dottie, at the diner. I have a shift at 11. I need to. Already handled. Victor called the diner at 4 this morning when the kitchen opens. He spoke to Dottie. Dottie was not easy to speak to. Victor reports that she called him, and I am quoting here, a whole catalog of things I have not heard a woman call a man since 1987. She has been told that you are safe, that you are out of the apartment, and that you will contact her yourself when you are ready. She would like you to call her when you wake up. Her exact words were, when that girl is awake and breathing, she calls me, or I come find her, and she knows I'll do it. Lena laughed. It surprised her. It came up out of her, and it surprised her. That's Dottie. Victor also reports that he is a little bit scared of her. He should be. Good. Eat. Lena ate. The coffee was better than any coffee she had ever had in her life, and she did not say that out loud because she did not want to be the kind of person who said that out loud. The eggs were soft. The toast had butter melted into it. She ate all of it, and she took the pills and she lay back on the pillow, and for the first time in years, for the first time she realized, since her mother's funeral, she did not have a shift to get to, a man to feed, a door to listen at, a bruise to hide. She had a broken arm and a locked door and a stranger next door who answered to the word Esther. It was, she thought, the best morning of her adult life. She was still thinking that when her new phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a number she didn't know. She picked it up. Hello? Baby. The voice made her whole body lock. Every nerve in her, every muscle, every small and hidden part of her that had spent 7 years listening for the sound of that voice at the top of a flight of stairs. Derek. How did you get this number? Lena, baby, listen. How did you get this number? Your friend gave it to me. That lady at the diner, that Dottie, Dottie wouldn't give you a number. Baby, please, I don't know where you are. I need you to come home. I need you to... Derek. He's crazy, Lena. That guy is crazy. I don't know what he told you, but he's... Derek. I love you, baby. Lena, listen. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know last night I was drunk. I lost the game. I took it out on you. I shouldn't have. I know I shouldn't have. I'm going to get help. I'm going to... Derek, stop. He stopped. Lena sat up. Her arm throbbed inside its splint. The borrowed bathrobe had fallen off her good shoulder. Through the window, the gray dawn light was turning the tree line, one at the edge of the lawn, from black to green. Somewhere in the house, a kettle was starting to whistle. She took a breath. Derek, she said, and her voice came out steadier than she had expected, steadier than it had any right to be. I don't know how you got this number. I'm going to guess you got it off the phone I left in the apartment, because that's the only place it could have come from. I want you to listen to me very carefully. I am not coming home. I am not in the apartment. I am never coming back to the apartment. I do not want to hear your voice again. I do not want to see your face again. I do not. Lena, I'm not done. I am not done. You shut up and you let me finish. Do you understand me? A silence. Yes, I do not love you. I don't know if I ever did, or if I just learned how to say it so I wouldn't get hit. I don't know. I'm going to find out. I'm going to have a lot of time to find out. What I know is that you broke my arm last night, Derek. You put my arm through a wall. That was not the worst thing you've ever done to me. It's just the last one. This is the last time you hear my voice. If you call this number again, if you come near Mel's, if you come near anybody I know, if you so much as drive down Linden Street, I will know. Somebody will know. And the man who came up the stairs last night will come again. And I don't think you want that. I don't think you want that at all. Do you understand me? A longer silence. Yeah. Goodbye, Derek. Lena? She hung up. She sat there for a second with the phone in her hand and she watched her fingers shake. They shook for about 30 seconds and then, slowly, they stopped. There was a knock on the door. It's Esther. Come in. Esther came in. She looked at Lena. She looked at the phone in Lena's hand. Who was that? Him. How did? Old phone. It was still in the apartment. He must have, I don't know, the contact list. He got my new number off a message or something. We'll handle it. New number today. What did you say to him? Lena looked down at the phone. I said goodbye. Esther looked at her for a long moment. Then she crossed the room and sat down on the edge of the bed, carefully, on the side away from the splint, and she put her hand on top of Lena's hand. Her hand was warm and dry and slightly rough along the knuckles, the way the hands of women who have worked with their hands get. Good, she said. Good girl. That's the first one. The first one is the hardest. They get easier. Do they? Eventually. Not for a while, but eventually, yes. Lena leaned her head for just a moment against Esther's shoulder. Esther let her. Outside, the sun had come up far enough that she could see the line where the lawn ended and the wall began, and the wall was real, stone, head high, running the whole length of the property. And on the inside of the wall there was a house, and in the house there was a room, and in the room, for the first time in 7 years, there was a door Derek Whalen could not open. Dr. Silver arrived at 5 minutes to 9, and he was exactly as advertised. He was a short, bald man in his 60s, with reading glasses on a chain around his neck and a canvas bag that looked like it had been carried into a lot of houses it was not supposed to be in. He did not shake Lena's hand. He said, "Good morning, Miss Carter. I am Dr. Silver. I'm going to look at the arm. May I sit on the edge of the bed?" And he sat where she said he could sit. And for the next 40 minutes, he did his work without once asking her a question about the shape of the break, or how it had happened, or who she was. When he was done, her left arm was in a clean white fiberglass cast from the base of her fingers to just below her elbow. 6 weeks, he said. 4. If you are lucky and young, you are young. You are not lucky. 6 weeks. Ice for the first 48 hours. The pain pills are for the first 3 days, then ibuprofen. Do not scratch inside the cast with anything you would not eat with. People lose skin that way. If the fingers go blue or cold or you lose feeling, you call me immediately. Not a hospital. Me. Esther has the number. Questions? No. Good. It was a pleasure. I am leaving. He left. Esther watched the door close behind him and said, without looking at Lena, "He has been exactly that friendly for 10 years. Victor once asked him how his grandchildren were, and he said, 'They are alive, thank you for asking.'" Lena laughed. It was the second time in 12 hours that she had laughed, and it was still a surprise to her that her body remembered how. "You should call Dottie," Esther said, "before she comes and finds you." Can she find me? She cannot, but I would not bet against her. Call her. Lena called. Dottie picked up on the first ring. "Lena." "Hi, Dottie." "Where are you?" "I'm safe." "That's not where." "That's what?" "Where are you?" "I can't. It's a house. It's a house out of town somewhere. I don't know the address. I'm safe." A long pause. "Your arm." "Broken. It's in a cast now. A doctor came this morning. It's going to be fine, Dottie. I promise. It's set right. It's that son of a bitch. Dottie, I'm going to the apartment. Do not go to the apartment.
I'm going to the... Dottie, don't. Don't go near it. Victor says he's gone. He's not going to be there. But don't, please, please don't. I can't worry about you too. I can't. Another pause, longer. Lena could hear the clatter of the kitchen behind her, the rattle of the flat top, the old coffee machine that gurgled like it was dying. Morning rush.
All right, Dottie said finally. All right, baby. I won't go to the apartment. I'm going to hang up and I'm going to yell at a cook for about 4 minutes and then I'm going to feel better. When can I see you? I don't know. Okay. Soon, Dottie, I promise. All right. Dottie. Yeah. Thank you for the French fries, for Ruth, for all of it. There was a wet sound at the other end of the line that Dottie tried to cover with a cough. Oh, shut up, Dottie said. Eat breakfast, drink water, call me tomorrow. If you don't call me tomorrow, I'm going to call this number back, and I'm going to keep calling until somebody answers, and I'm going to be very unpleasant. I'll call tomorrow. Good. Love you, girl. Love you too. Lena hung up. She sat on the edge of the bed with the phone in her lap for a long time. The cast was heavier than she had expected. Heavier and warmer. She flexed the fingers of her left hand carefully, and the fingers moved. Her hand still worked. Something inside her uncoiled a little at that. She got up. She went to the dresser. Esther was right. There were clothes in it that were not hers, but that were her approximate size. Soft things. A pair of gray sweatpants, a long-sleeved t-shirt in dark blue, a zip-front hoodie that did not require putting an arm through a sleeve, underwear still in the package, socks still in the package. Somebody had gone shopping for her. Somebody had thought about the fact that a woman with a broken arm could not put a shirt over her head. She stood in the middle of the guest bathroom with these things, and she tried, for a long moment, not to cry about a zip-front hoodie, and she failed. Esther knocked on the door. You all right in there? Yeah. Take your time. She took her time. She got into the clothes. She washed her face with her good hand. She looked at herself in the mirror. The bruise on her jaw had darkened overnight into a vivid purple the size of a plum. The split in her ear had scabbed over. She looked, she thought, like a woman who had been hit by a truck and survived. She decided that was all right. Survival was allowed to look like something. She came out. Esther looked up from the chair by the window. There she is. Can I see the rest of the house? I don't know where I am. Victor said to tell you every door on this floor except the stairwell belongs to you until you say otherwise. The rest of the house, you are welcome anywhere. But he wanted me to tell you that the east wing, past the library, is his work, and he would prefer you to stay out of it, not because of secrets, but because, and I'm quoting, it is tedious and there are men in it who have not slept. His words. Okay. Do you want a tour or do you want to be left alone? Tour, please. The house was not what Lena had expected. She had expected marble. She had expected gold. She had expected the kind of house men who were feared had in movies. Cold, too big, full of statues. The house was not that. It was large, yes, but it had been a farmhouse once, 200 years ago, and whoever had renovated it had kept the bones. The ceilings on the main floor were low. The floorboards were wide pine, softened to butter yellow by 2 centuries of feet. The kitchen had a long oak table in the middle of it, scarred and stained, and copper pots on a rack above it, and a cast-iron stove that had been converted to gas but had kept its old black bulk. There were books everywhere, in the front room, on shelves that went to the ceiling, in the hallway, on a little table by the door, in a stack 2 feet high, in the kitchen, on a window seat, 3 of them splayed open face down like a reader had been moving through them at the same time. He reads, Lena said, stupidly. He reads, Esther said. All day. When he is not doing other things, he reads. I do not understand any of it. He tried to get me into poetry once. I do not have time for a man to tell me that a sparrow is a metaphor for my mother. Lena laughed again. 3 times now. Her face hurt. They went through this house. Esther showed her the front sitting room and the back sitting room, which was really more of a sunroom, full of green light from a wall of windows. And the library, which was the size of the apartment on Linden Street and a half. She showed her the kitchen and the pantry
and a small breakfast room with a bay window that looked out over a wet stone terrace and a garden going brown with October. She showed her a side door that opened on the terrace. "If you want air," Esther said, "this is the door. The property is walled. There is a gate at the end of the drive, and there is a man at the gate. His name is Marco. He is enormous and friendly, and he will not let anyone in he does not know. You can walk the grounds. There is a path down to a pond. There are some chickens. Do not feed them. They are evil." "Okay. There is one more thing." "Yeah. I want you to see the front door. I want you to see it from the inside." Esther walked her to the front of the house. The front door was heavy, black-painted oak with a brass handle and a keypad beside it. "This door," Esther said, "is locked from the inside only by you. The code is on a sticky note in your room. Only you have the code. If at any point you decide you want to leave, in an hour, tonight, tomorrow, next week, next year, you come to this door, you punch in your code, you walk out, and a car is waiting in the drive within about 90 seconds. You do not have to tell anyone you are leaving. You do not have to give notice. You do not have to explain. You punch in the code. You walk out. That is all. Do you understand?" Lena looked at the door. "I understand." "Say it back." "I punch the code. I walk out. A car comes. I don't have to explain." "Perfect." "Esther." "Yeah." "Why are you telling me this?" Esther looked at her for a long second. Her eyes, up close, were a kind of light brown, flecked with green, and they were older than the rest of her face. "Because," she said, "I have worked for Victor for 10 years, and I have been in this house for a lot of conversations. I know what he is going to say to you over the next days and weeks, and I know how he is going to say it, and I know that he is a good man in most of the ways that matter. And I also know that good men are a kind of cage too sometimes. Not like the one you came from, but a cage, still. I wanted you to see that door before he says anything else to you. I wanted you to know that the door is real and the code is yours. Because if a man tells you that you are free and you do not have the key to the door, you are not free, no matter how nicely the furniture is arranged." Lena looked at her. "Does he know you tell people this?" "He told me to tell you this. The first thing he said to me last night when he called me was, 'Esther, before you do anything else in the morning, show her the door.'" Lena did not cry this time, but something in her shifted, the way a heavy piece of furniture shifts when two people who know what they are doing finally get their hands on it at the same time. "Okay. Okay? I'd like to eat something," Lena said. "Thank God. Come on." They went back to the kitchen. Esther made her a sandwich, turkey, but on sourdough this time, with avocado and a fat slice of tomato and a leaf of lettuce that had come from somewhere that actually grew lettuce. And Lena ate the whole thing and half a bowl of soup, and when she was done, she leaned back in the chair and closed her eyes and said, "I haven't eaten a meal sitting down in my own kitchen in 4 years." Esther did not say anything. She just put a second glass of water in front of Lena and sat down across from her and ate her own sandwich, and the two of them sat in the kitchen in silence for a long time, while a clock somewhere ticked and a single yellow leaf fell past the window in no particular hurry. Victor did not come down until the afternoon. He knocked on the open archway of the kitchen before he came in, which Lena registered as something she would think about later, that a man in his own house knocked to come into his own kitchen. He was in a dark sweater and gray pants. He looked tired. He did not look at her arm first. He looked at her face, and he said, "Dr. Silver says it's a clean break. 6 weeks. Good news." "Good news? How are you?" She considered the question. "I don't know. I ate a sandwich." "That's a good start." Esther showed me the door. "Good." He sat down across from her, in the chair where Esther had been. Esther had, without Lena quite noticing when, gotten up and left the room. "I wanted to talk to you about a few things," he said. "If that's all right. It doesn't have to be now." "Now is fine." "Are you sure? You've had a morning." "Now is fine." "Okay." He put his hands flat on the table. He had long fingers, a small white scar across the back of one knuckle. "Derek called you." "Yes. Esther told me. I'm sorry. Your number on the old phone was in his contact list and we missed it. That's on us. We've changed your number. Anyone who had the old one and wasn't on your approved list, it now goes to a voicemail that isn't yours. Dottie has the new number. The diner has it. Your aunt in Seaford, the one you put in your phone as Aunt J, has it. Nobody else. If you want to add people, you add people. If you want to subtract people, you subtract people. Your list, your phone.
You went through my phone. Esther did. I didn't. She has a list of names she pulled, and I can give it to you, and you can cross anybody off. You don't want called or texted by this number. Okay. The other thing I wanted to tell you. You asked last night what I did to him. I want to tell you now, and I want you to stop me if at any point it becomes more than you want to know. Fair? Fair. He took a breath. It was the first time she had seen him do that, collect himself before speaking.
The short version is that I have been collecting information on Derek Whalen for 11 months. Nothing illegal, public records mostly. His financial footprint, his work history, his associations, his cousin Ray, who you know about, the group at the Iron Horse. I know which 2 cops are in that group, and I know what their disciplinary records look like. I know about the side business Derek and Ray have been running for the last 4 years, which involves moving certain items across state lines that are not supposed to cross state lines. I know the license plates. I know the warehouses. I know the pager they use, a pager, in this century, to schedule the pickups. None of this is speculation. All of it is on paper.
Lena stared at him. Why?
Because 11 months ago, I watched a man grab a woman's wrist in a diner, and I decided that if that woman ever called the number on a card, I was going to be ready. So I was ready. I know. I understand how that sounds. You've been watching him. I've been watching his paperwork. I have, once, in person, followed him from the Iron Horse to a warehouse in Colton. That was 6 months ago, and it was not to protect you. It was to confirm an address. Everything else has been done from an office by people who do it for a living. I want to be clear about that distinction because I think it matters. I don't know if it matters. Okay, then it doesn't. She put her hand flat on the table, next to his. She did not quite touch his hand. Almost. What did you do to him last night? I sat down on your couch across from him, and I opened a folder and I walked him through what I have. I told him what I could do with it. I told him that at any point in the next 72 hours, the contents of that folder could end up on the desk of an assistant U.S. attorney in Trenton who has been looking at Ray Whalen for a year and a half. I told him that if he did certain things in the next 72 hours, I would make the folder go away. Not forever. I do not make things go away forever. But I would put it in a drawer, and I would not open the drawer unless he gave me a reason. What things? 3 things. 1, he leaves the apartment this morning and does not come back. The lease is in your name, the rent is paid through November, and as of 11 this morning, the locks have been changed. 2, he signs a document already drafted that releases any claim of any kind against you, financial, contractual, personal, and agrees to a restraining order that will be filed in your name in the morning. He signed it in front of me last night. I had a notary in the car. 3, he does not attempt to contact you. Ever. He slipped on the 3rd one already, this morning. He gets 1 slip. There will not be a second. What happens if there's a second? Then the folder goes to Trenton. Lena was quiet. He'll go to prison. He will go to prison. So probably will Ray. So possibly will one of the cops. I don't care about the cops. I care about Derek, and I care about Ray because Ray is the reason Derek is the way Derek is. And if you pull a plant out of the ground without getting the roots, you have wasted everyone's afternoon. Victor. Yes. This is not normal. No, normal people don't. They don't have folders on other people. They don't have notaries in cars. No, they don't. Who are you? He looked at her for a long moment. I am a man, he said slowly, who made his money in ways I am not proud of, between the ages of 19 and 29, and who has spent the last 13 years trying to be useful in ways I will not have to explain to my sister. That is the most honest answer I can give you. I am not a criminal currently. I have been. I am not a police officer, and I do not work for the government. I am a private citizen with enough money that my particular hobbies, which involve taking apart certain kinds of men, are not constrained by the things that constrain most private citizens. That is who I am. You have the right to be unsettled by that. A lot of people are. I am. Good. I should be. Yes, you should. She sat with it. She sat with it for a long time. Outside the window, the yellow leaves were coming down in earnest now, a slow yellow rain across the terrace. What happens today? She said, finally, in the real, practical, what happens today sense.
Today, if you want it, a team of 2 women goes to the apartment on Linden Street. They pack everything you tell them to pack. They leave everything you tell them to leave. They bring it here, or to a storage unit, or to Dottie's, or to your aunt in Seaford, or wherever else you want. They do not touch anything you do not name. You can sit on a phone with them the whole time and walk them through every drawer. Or you can give them a list and let them work.
Or you can go yourself and they can drive you. Or you can wait a week, your call. Today also, if you want it, a lawyer named Paula Ortega comes at 3 o'clock and talks to you about the restraining order and a few other things that we should talk about. The lease? Your name on anything Derek has his hands on, a bank account you may or may not know he was skimming. Paula is a good woman, and she is not working for me. She is working for you. I will not be in the room. She works on a retainer that has been prepaid, and she is yours for as long as you need her, and anything you tell her does not leave the room. Today, if you want it, nothing else happens at all. You watch television, you sleep, you eat whatever Esther makes you, you do nothing. That is also a completely available option, and I want you to know that. What do you recommend? I don't recommend. It's not my decision. Victor. Yes. What would you do? If you were me? He thought about it. He thought about it longer than she had expected.
I would have Paula come, he said, because the things Paula is going to talk to you about are boring but important, and the sooner they are done, the sooner they are done. I would let the women pack the apartment, not today, tomorrow, because today you are going to need to cry for about 6 more hours, in my experience, and packing decisions are not good decisions to make while crying. I would call Dottie. I would eat something with vegetables in it. I would go to bed early. Okay.
Okay, Paula at 3, packing tomorrow. I'll eat vegetables. He almost smiled. All right. He stood up. He hesitated, then sat back down. One more thing. Okay. Your old phone. We have it. Esther took it out of the apartment this morning before the lock change. I want to ask you about something that came off it before we do anything with it. Okay. There are 47 text messages between you and your mother that you have never deleted, dating back 6 years. She died 4 years ago. I did not read them. Esther did not read them. A technician pulled them off the phone into a clean file and did not read them. I wanted to ask you, before we wipe the phone, whether you would like them transferred to the new one. Lena did not answer for a long moment. Yes, she said eventually. Please. They'll be on the new phone by tonight, in an archive folder. You'll know where to find them. Thank you. Don't thank you. I know. Shut up. He actually laughed then, a short surprise sound like a laugh that had been kept in a drawer for a long time and had gotten a little dusty. He stood up. Paula at 3. Paula at 3. He went. Paula Ortega was 40, built like a pit bull, wore a navy pantsuit with sneakers, and came into the sunroom at 3 o'clock with a leather folio under one arm and a thermos of coffee under the other. She sat down across from Lena, opened the folio, clicked a pen, and said, Miss Carter, I'm Paula. I'm going to be your lawyer for as long as you want me to be your lawyer, and if at any point in the next 3 hours you decide you don't want me to be your lawyer, you say, Paula, we're done. And I pack my stuff and I leave, and I do not charge you for today. Are we clear? We're clear. Good. Now, you got a minute before I start being unpleasant about paperwork? I've got a minute. Talk to me about your bank accounts. Paula was unpleasant about paperwork for 3 hours and 20 minutes. She asked about the joint checking account Derek had talked Lena into opening in year 2. She asked about Lena's car, which turned out to be in both their names. She asked about Lena's credit cards. She pulled a credit report that Lena had not known existed and walked her through 4 accounts opened in Lena's name at her old address that Lena had never heard of. And by the end of it, Lena understood that Derek had been quietly destroying her credit for about 3 years, a fact she had not known, and that now that she did know it, she could not decide whether to be furious about or simply tired. You're going to be furious later, Paula said, reading her. Right now you're tired. That's correct.
Furious is a tomorrow thing. Today, we write down what the bad thing is, we put it in the folder, we close the folder, and we go to sleep. Tomorrow we open the folder and we start unscrewing bolts, okay? Okay.
I'm going to fix the credit report. I'm going to unwind those accounts. I'm going to get your name off the car title or the car sold. Your choice. It's a Civic with 94,000 miles on it. It's worth about $7,000. I'm going to close out the joint checking, which has, and I want you to be sitting down for this, $87 in it. I paid the rent yesterday. I figured the rent for November is paid. The rent for December will be paid. After that, we have a conversation about whether you stay in that apartment or you don't. And I have opinions on that, and I will share them when it's time, not today. Okay. Restraining order is filed at 8 a.m. Monday. He will be served at his mother's house on Monday afternoon, which is where he went last night because I spoke to his mother this morning, and she is a sensible woman who is not surprised by any of this and who said, and I am quoting, "It's about damn time." You talked to his mother.
I talked to his mother. His mother is fine. You can call her if you want. She asked me to tell you that she is sorry and that she knew and she did nothing, and she will understand if you never speak to her again. She also said to tell you that Derek is her son, and she loves him, and she will be helping him get into a program, and that this is not a thing you have to have feelings about.
Lena sat with that for a moment. Gloria Whalen had been kind to her in her way for 7 years. Gloria had known. Gloria had known and done nothing. Lena discovered, sitting there, that she did not have the energy to be angry at Gloria. Gloria was a 70-year-old woman whose husband had hit her for 40 years and whose son hit his girlfriend for 7. And some nights, a year from now, Lena might be angry at Gloria. But today she only felt tired and a little sorry for her. Tell her thank you, Lena said. Tell her I'm not ready to talk. But thank you. Got it. Paula closed the folio. One more thing before I leave you alone. Okay. You did not ask me what my retainer is. I was told, I know. Victor prepaid me. I want to be precise with you about what that means. He prepaid me a year of my services at my full rate. He did not prepay me to report to him. He did not prepay me to include him in any conversations. He did not prepay me to share a single piece of paper with him. He prepaid me to be your lawyer. I have worked for him twice before, Miss Carter, on unrelated matters, and I am telling you as a woman and as a lawyer that if he ever calls me and asks me a question about you, I will tell him to go to hell, and he will laugh and hang up because he knows he is not allowed to ask and he already knows the answer. Do you understand what I am telling you? Yes. Okay, your lawyer is yours. You can fire me at any time. If you fire me, I am still yours through the end of the matters we have started, and you do not owe me $1. Questions? No. Good. I'm going to go home and eat dinner with my wife. I'll see you Monday morning. Call me before then only if something is on fire. She left. Lena sat alone in the sunroom for a long time. The light had gone from green to gold to gray. Somewhere in the house, someone was cooking something that involved garlic and butter. Her arm ached dully inside the cast. She looked out the window at the last of the yellow leaves coming down. She thought for the first time in a long time about the woman she had been at 21. Before Derek, before the diner. Back in Seaford, in the little town on the coast she had grown up in, working at the ice cream place on the boardwalk, reading library books on the breakwater after her shift. She had wanted to be a nurse. She had filled out applications for 3 different community college nursing programs. She had been accepted at 2 of them. She had told her mother about it over Thanksgiving that year, and her mother, dying already by then, though neither of them had known it yet, had squeezed her hand and said, "Good, baby. Good. You're going to be so good at that." Then her mother had gotten the diagnosis, and Lena had moved home to take care of her, and her mother had died the following September. And the year after that, Lena had met Derek at a wedding of a cousin in Ashford Heights, and she had not gone back to Seaford, and she had not filled out the paperwork to defer her seat, and the seat had gone to somebody else. And that, Lena understood, was the moment her life had forked. She had not known it was the moment. It had looked, at the time, like a small thing, a boy she liked, a delay of a semester, a job at a diner so she could pay rent while she figured out which school to pick. 7 years. She became aware that she was crying, not the ugly cry from last night, a quieter one, a lower grade, long drip cry,
The kind that was less about pain and more about the precise grief of understanding, at 28, what you had lost when you were 21, and how much of the loss had been your own hand on the wheel. She did not try to stop it. She just sat and let it happen. And after a while, Esther came in with a glass of wine and a small plate of cheese and crackers and did not say anything at all. Esther set the plate down. Esther set the glass down. Esther sat in the other chair and did not look at her. Esther picked up a magazine from the side table and read it, or pretended to read it, for the better part of an hour, while Lena cried quietly into her hoodie sleeve.
When the light had gone all the way gray, Esther said, without looking up from the magazine, "There's lasagna in the oven. It will be ready in 20 minutes. You do not have to eat it, but it is there. I'll eat it." "Good." Esther. "Yeah. I want tomorrow or the day after. I want to call a community college." Esther looked up. She did not ask which one. She did not ask why. She did not ask if Lena was sure. "I'll bring you the phone." "Thank you." "You're welcome." They sat. The lasagna cooked. Outside, the last light went out of the garden and the stone terrace turned from gray to black. Somewhere on the other side of Ashford Heights, a man named Derek Whalen sat in his mother's kitchen and signed a document a notary had left on her table. And by the time the ink dried, a folder in a house he had never seen had been moved, one drawer deeper, into a place it was going to stay for as long as he behaved. Lena did not know any of this. What Lena knew, sitting in the sunroom with an aching arm and a glass of wine she had not touched, was that she had been in this house for less than 24 hours, and she had already cried more times than she had in the last 4 years combined, and that each of the cries had belonged to her, that nobody in this house had told her to stop crying, or to cry prettier, or to cry somewhere he could not see her. She had cried, and a woman she had known for one day had brought her cheese. She picked up the glass of wine. She took a small sip. It was red, and it was better than any wine she had ever had in her life. And she was going to stop being surprised about that, she thought, at some point. Not yet, but at some point. "Esther." "Yeah." "He said the door is mine." "The door is yours." Does he come upstairs? To the floor where my room is? Ever. He has been up there once last night when you asked him to come. He did not come up this morning. He will not come up tonight. If you wanted him to come up for a specific reason, you would tell me, and I would tell him, and he would come up. If you never wanted him to come up again, you would tell me, and he would never come up again. That is how it works in this house. Okay? Okay. Okay, I was just checking. Check all you want, honey. That's how you know. They ate the lasagna. Lena ate more of it than she had expected to. She went to bed at 9. She lay in the dark and she listened to the house. Old wood settling, a radiator ticking somewhere, the distant small sounds of a big house at night. And she thought about her mother, and she thought about the 47 text messages that were going to be on her phone in the morning, and she thought about how in 6 weeks the cast would come off, and her arm would be her arm again, and how in 6 weeks she would be, for the first time since she was 21, a woman whose body belonged entirely to her. She fell asleep on that thought. Somewhere below her, in a study at the end of a long hallway, Victor Moreau was still awake, going through a different folder, a thicker one, the one that had her name on the tab and that he had been building for 11 months. He closed it, eventually. He put it in a drawer. He locked the drawer. He turned off the lamp. He did not go upstairs. The weeks that followed were, on the outside, quiet. On the inside, Lena was being rearranged. The restraining order was filed Monday morning at 8, the way Paula said it would be. Derek was served Monday afternoon at Gloria Whalen's kitchen table. He signed for it without making a scene, which Paula reported back with a kind of grim professional approval. "He knows what's on the table," she said over the phone. "He's been told what's on the table. He's not going to do anything stupid this week. I cannot promise anything about next month. But this week, you can breathe." Lena breathed. On Tuesday, the two women came for the apartment. Their names were Renee and Simone. Renee was in her 40s, black, built like a retired softball coach, with forearms that could carry a loaded laundry basket up 3 flights without shifting her grip. Simone was 26, Korean-American, smaller, quicker, with a pixie cut and a notebook and a pencil tucked behind her ear. They sat down with Lena at the kitchen table in Victor's house on Monday night, and they went room by room through the apartment on Linden Street with a tablet, and Lena told them, sometimes slowly, sometimes fast, what was hers and what was not. The couch was not hers. Derek's. The TV was not hers. Derek's. The bed frame was not hers. Derek's cousin had given it to him when they moved in. But the sheets were hers, and the pillows were hers, and the quilt her mother had made when Lena was 7. That was hers. That was the one thing in that apartment that she cared about. Everything in the second bedroom closet? Top shelf, Lena said. There's a shoebox up there. Green lid. My mother's letters. She wrote me when I was at camp one summer. I've had them since I was 12. That box. Simone wrote it down. The kitchen. The stand mixer on the counter. It was my grandmother's. He has been threatening to pawn it for about 4 years. It's worth nothing. Please don't leave it. Stand mixer, Simone said. Got it.
There's a photo album in the bottom drawer of the dresser in the bedroom. Red cover, please. Photo album. Got it. The books on the shelf in the living room, but the ones on the bottom 2 shelves. The top shelves are his. The bottom 2 are mine. They went on like that for an hour. When they were done, Simone read the list back to her. Lena listened and nodded and at one point said, "The Pyrex dish on the top shelf of the pantry. The lasagna one. My mother's. Please."
Pyrex lasagna dish, Simone said. Got it. That's it. You're sure? I'm sure. Leave the rest. Leave. Leave the couch, the TV, the bed frame, the dishes, the microwave, the shower curtain. I don't care. Leave it. I don't want any of it. I don't want to look at any of it. Okay. On Tuesday, Renee and Simone went to the apartment with a small truck. At 10 in the morning, Renee called to say the locksmith had been fine. The apartment was empty of human beings, and they were starting in the bedroom. At 2 in the afternoon, Renee called to say they had everything on the list except the Pyrex, because there was no Pyrex on the top shelf of the pantry. I'm really sorry, baby. It's not here. There's a broken one in the trash under the sink. I think he broke it. I'm sorry. Lena sat on the edge of her bed for a minute. That's okay. I'll get you a new one. You don't have to get me a new one. I'm getting you a new one. Not today, but I'm getting you one. Green lid. Same brand. Okay. We'll be there by 4. They arrived at 4. They had, between the two of them, made the drive from Linden Street to the gate of Victor's property in a truck that looked, to Lena, absurdly small for what it was carrying, which was all of her. All of her, the whole of her, fit in the back of a rented cargo van with room to spare. 28 years of a person, 6 boxes of books, 2 suitcases of clothes, a shoebox of letters, a stand mixer, a photo album, a quilt, 4 pieces of furniture she had owned before Derek, a rocking chair, a little painted side table, a floor lamp with a fringed shade, a cedar chest. Esther helped her unpack in a room on the 3rd floor that was not the guest room. Victor, without saying anything about it, had put her things in a larger room at the end of the hall, with 2 windows and its own bathroom and a small sitting area by a stone fireplace that did not work, but that made the room feel like a room instead of a stopover. He had not told her he had done it. She understood, when she saw the room,
that he was not going to tell her anything about it, that she was allowed to react to the room or not react to it, that he had no expectation either way, that the room was a thing he had quietly done and did not need her to acknowledge. She put the quilt on the bed. She hung the rocking chairs back over with the sweater she had been carrying around the house for 3 days. She set the shoebox of letters on the mantel of the fireplace that did not work. She set the photo album on the little painted side table. She stood in the middle of the room for a long time. It was, she realized, the first room that had ever been entirely hers. The bedroom in her mother's house had belonged to both of them, in a way. Her mother had come in and out of it all her life. The bedroom she had rented in her early 20s had belonged to roommates. The apartment on Linden Street had belonged to Derek from the moment he moved a duffel bag into it, even though her name was on the lease. This room was hers, because a man she did not fully understand yet had decided, without being asked, that she should have a room, and because the code to the door of the house was in her pocket, and she could leave the house at any hour of any day, and the room and everything in it would be loaded into another truck and moved anywhere she said to move it. She sat down on the bed. She did not cry. That was the first day that week that she did not cry. She marked the date in her head, November 2nd, and she understood, small and sure, that it was a day she was going to remember. Therapy started the following Monday.
The therapist's name was Dr. Rosa Navarro. She was Dominican, in her 60s, a grandmother of 11, and she had an office in a converted brownstone in a town 40 minutes from Victor's house, which was the compromise Lena had insisted on. She did not want a therapist who came to her. She did not want a man in or out of a suit arranging a doctor to sit across from her in a room in the house Victor owned. She wanted to drive somewhere. She wanted to sit in a waiting room with a fern in it. She wanted to walk out when the hour was up. Paula had found Dr. Navarro in 3 phone calls. Victor had not met her, did not know what she looked like, and was not going to. "She's your doctor," Paula said. "She's yours. I have never met her before either. Here's her address, here's her number, here's what she charges. She also does not want to know Victor's name. She wants to know that a rich man prepaid you a year, and that is all she wants to know about him." "Okay. Mondays at 10. First session's already scheduled." "Okay." Lena drove herself on Monday morning. She drove her own car. The Civic had stayed in her name, after all, and Marco had gone and gotten it from the apartment lot, and Lena drove it now with the cast of her left arm braced against the steering wheel, her right hand doing most of the work. The drive took 43 minutes on the 2-lane road that ran through 3 towns and a long stretch of brown farmland. Lena played the radio. She did not cry. She arrived in Rosedale at 9:55 and sat in the waiting room of the brownstone with a magazine about gardens and a cup of water from the cooler, and at 10 sharp Dr. Navarro came out of her office and said, "Lena Carter, come on in." Dr. Navarro's office was small and warm and smelled like peppermint. There were 2 armchairs and a low table with a box of tissues on it and a window with a fire escape outside it. There was no couch. Lena sat in the armchair facing the window. Dr. Navarro sat in the other armchair. "I'm Rosa. I'll answer to Dr. Navarro or Rosa or Doctor. You pick. My clients over 60 call me Rosa. My clients under 60 call me Dr. Navarro. You can break that rule if you want." "Dr. Navarro is fine." "Dr. Navarro it is. I'm going to do a thing I do on first sessions. I'm going to talk for about 5 minutes, and then you're going to talk for the rest of the hour. If at any point in my 5 minutes I say something that makes you want to get up and walk out, you are allowed to walk out. I don't get offended. I have a lot of clients. Ready?" "Ready." Dr. Navarro talked for 5 minutes. She talked about what therapy was and what therapy was not. She talked about confidentiality and its limits. She talked about the fact that she was not going to fix Lena, that she did not think Lena needed fixing, that she thought Lena needed a room once a week where nobody was afraid of her and she was not afraid of anybody, and that the room would be this room, and that what they were going to do in the room was mostly talk, and sometimes not talk, and sometimes cry, and sometimes sit in silence. And all of those things were the work, and all of them were valid. And at the end of an hour, Lena would pay, or Victor would pay, or nobody would pay, and it did not matter to the work. Then Dr. Navarro put her hands in her lap and said, "Okay, your turn. Start wherever you want. If you want to start with the weather, we will start with the weather. If you want to start with your mother, we will start with your mother. If you want to start by crying for 45 minutes without saying anything, we will do that. There is no wrong start." Lena sat for a long moment. "I don't know where to start." "That's also a start." I don't feel the right things. I'm in a house. There's a man in the house who is paying for all of it, and he's been very kind, and I don't trust him. I don't trust him. And I don't know if I'm right not to trust him, or if I'm wrong not to trust him, because I don't know anymore what trust is supposed to feel like. I'm living in a stranger's house, and he broke my arm. My boyfriend, not the stranger, Derek. Derek broke my arm. The stranger has been good. I don't know if good means good or if good means a different kind of bad. I haven't learned to see yet. And I keep thinking I should be grateful, and I am grateful, but every time I'm grateful, I'm angry that I have to be grateful, because why does anybody have to save me? Why couldn't I save me? And then I'm angry at Derek, and then I'm angry at myself for being with him for 7 years. And then I'm angry at my mother for dying, which is insane because she didn't want to die. She didn't die to spite me, but I'm angry at her, Dr. Navarro. I'm so angry at her some days I can't breathe, and I have never said that out loud. I have never said that to anyone in my life, and I don't know what to do with any of it. She stopped. She realized she had been talking for 10 minutes. She realized her face was wet. Dr. Navarro handed her the box of tissues. "Okay," Dr. Navarro said. "Good."
Very good. Let's start with the last one. Let's start with your mother. They started with Lena's mother. The hour went by in what felt like 15 minutes, when Dr. Navarro said gently, "We're going to need to stop there for today." Lena looked at the clock on the wall and was genuinely shocked that an hour had gone.
Same time next Monday? Same time next Monday. Is it okay to ask a question? Yes. Am I going to be okay? Dr. Navarro did not immediately answer.
I think, she said after a moment, that you are already okay. What we are going to work on, you and me, is you knowing it. Okay is not the finish line, Lena. Okay is the starting line. You crossed it when you called that phone number. What we are going to do now is help you understand that you were okay before you called too. You were okay when you were walking up the stairs of that building every night for 7 years. You were okay when you were hiding your tips in your bra. You were okay when you were a little girl watching your mother die. You were okay. You have always been okay. What we are going to do is teach you to feel it. That is a different project, and it is a longer project, and we are going to do it together. Yes? Yes. Good. See you next week. Lena drove home. On the way, she pulled into a diner she had never been in before, a chrome-trimmed, greasy spoon in a town called Easton, and she ordered a coffee and a slice of apple pie, and she sat at the counter and she ate the pie slowly, by herself, with no man waiting for her anywhere, and the waitress called her honey and topped off her coffee without asking and moved on. She stayed for an hour. She paid. She tipped 30%. She left. She drove back to Victor's house in the gray November light with the radio off and the window cracked, and she understood, somewhere in the middle of it, that she had just done something for herself that she had not done in 7 years. She had taken an hour. Just an hour. A coffee and a pie, and an hour. Nobody had asked her where she was. Nobody had texted her to come home. She arrived at Victor's gate at 3:15. Marco waved her through without getting up from his little booth. She parked in the gravel circle by the front door. She went inside. Esther was in the kitchen, reading a paperback, stirring something on the stove with one hand without looking. How'd it go? I stopped for pie on the way home. Esther looked up. Pie, she said, is the correct answer. Victor was careful with her, in a way she was slow to see at first because the care was the absence of things. He did not ask her at dinner how therapy had gone. He did not ask her, when she came in from a drive, where she had been. He did not comment on her clothes, on her hair, on whether she was eating, on whether she had slept, on any of the things that Derek had commented on every single day for 7 years. He said, at breakfast, "Good morning." He said, at dinner, "I'm told the fish tonight is very good." He said in passing, "Marco mentioned your tire is a little low on the right front. We'll have someone look at it when you have a minute. No rush." He did not sit near her without being invited to. He did not touch her. Not her arm, not her shoulder, not a pat on the back. In 6 weeks, he did not once put a hand on her. The absence of that for Lena was not something she could have put into words. She could only feel it, the way you feel the change in a room when a clock has been stopped. In 7 years of Derek, and 21 years of her mother, and every boyfriend before Derek, and every uncle at every Thanksgiving, she had not understood how often she was touched without being asked, how often a hand landed on her without any negotiation about whether she wanted it there. She did not understand it until a man stopped doing it. She did not understand it until 6 weeks had passed, and she realized that not one time, in those 6 weeks, had she had to brace for a hand. She thought about this sometimes in Dr. Navarro's office. He hasn't touched me. Not once? Not once. How do you feel about that? I don't know. I thought it would feel... I don't know. I thought it would feel distant, cold. It doesn't. It feels like air. It feels like air in a room that didn't have any. What do you think it means? I don't know what it means. What would you like it to mean? Lena was quiet for a long time. I would like it to mean that he is a safe person. And what is stopping you from deciding it means that? The fact that Derek was a safe person for the first 4 months, Dr. Navarro, and then he wasn't. And my father was a safe person until he stopped being, and then he left.
And every man I've ever known has been a safe person until he wasn't. And so I'm waiting. For what? For him to stop being safe. Dr. Navarro nodded. That is a reasonable thing for your body to do. Your body has learned a pattern. Your body learned the pattern to keep you alive. Your body is not wrong, but I want you to notice something for me. I want you to notice this week whether your body is collecting evidence, whether every small thing he does is being weighed against the list of things that would confirm the pattern. And I want you to notice whether your body is capable, at this point, of collecting evidence of the other kind too. Evidence that the pattern might be wrong in this case. That is your homework, not to decide, just to notice. Okay. How is the arm? It itches. Good. That means it's healing. 2 more weeks and the cast comes off. And then, I don't know. Then I'm a woman with an arm again, I guess. You are already a woman with an arm. You are a woman with a cast. The arm is still yours. It has been yours the whole time. Yeah. Lena. Yeah. Have you told him yet about the nursing program? No. Why not? I don't know. I guess because then it's real. And if it's real, and if he reacts wrong, if he's weird about it, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. What do you think reacting wrong would look like? Offering to pay for it. Why would that be wrong? Because then I'd owe him. Do you owe him now? No, he says I don't. Do you believe him? Mostly. What would be different about nursing school? I don't know. It's bigger. It would be years. It would be a shape my life takes that was shaped by his money. Dr. Navarro nodded slowly. That is a real thing. That is a real concern. I want you to sit with it. I also want you to notice that you have the option, which women in your situation do not always have, of deciding what his money is for. You can decide that his money is for a cast and a lawyer and a room, and not for a degree. Or you can decide that his money is for whatever he offers and you accept, and that accepting is not the same as owing. Or you can decide that you want to pay for the degree yourself, with loans, the way most people pay for a degree, and that his role in your life ends when you are financially on your feet. All 3 of those are valid. None of them is the right answer. This is a question you get to answer slowly. Okay. Talk to him. Okay. She talked to him that night. She found him after dinner in the library. He was in the big wing chair by the window, a book open on his knee, a glass of something amber on the little table beside him. He looked up when she came in. He set the book down but did not close it. A small thing she had noticed that he did, keeping the book open to the page as a way of not making her feel she had interrupted him too much, not making her feel she had to be apologetic about wanting his attention. Can I talk to you for a minute? Of course. Sit down. She sat in the other chair, the smaller one. She had not been in the library very often. The fire was going. The room smelled like old paper and wood smoke, and faintly, the orange peel Esther had tossed into the fire earlier for the smell. I've been thinking about something. A lot. I want to tell you about it. I want to tell you about it, but I want to tell you how I want to tell you about it first. Okay? I don't want you to offer to pay for anything, even if you want to, especially if you want to. I want to tell you a thing, and I want you to say, "That's great, Lena," and nothing else. Not even, "How can I help?" Nothing. Just "That's great." Or "Okay." Or a nod. That's the only response I want right now. Is that okay? He looked at her for a second, then he nodded. Okay. Promise. I promise. She took a breath. I want to go to nursing school. I was going to, a long time ago, before my mother got sick. I had a spot at Seaford Community. I lost it. I want to go. I called them on Tuesday. They said if I apply by January, I can start in the fall. I'm going to apply. He was quiet for a moment, then he nodded. That's great, Lena. That's all. That's all. You have to not, you can't even look at me like you want to offer something. I'm not. You kind of are. I'm not. I promise. I'm looking at you like I'm proud of you. If that's too much,
I can look at you like I'm not looking at you. I have a whole face for it. She laughed. It caught her off guard. He smiled back, a small, real smile, the first real one she had seen on his face. That's fine. The proud one is fine. Just the proud one and nothing else. Deal. Thank you. Don't thank me. I know, I keep forgetting. It's fine. They sat for a minute in the firelight. She looked at the book on his knee. It was a paperback, bent at the spine from use. Short stories, it looked like. What are you reading? Flannery O'Connor. Any good? She is very good. She is also very mean. Women are cruel in her stories. Children are cruel. Men are mostly stupid. The only merciful characters are the dying. I don't know why I come back to her. That sounds terrible. It is terrible. It is also somehow the only thing I want to read tonight. She looked at the fire. Victor. Yes. Can I ask you something? Yes. Your sister, you mentioned her that first night. You said somebody gave her a room. What happened to her? He was quiet for a long moment. He closed the book this time. He set it on the table. Her name is Marguerite. She's 5 years younger than me. She is a pediatric dentist in Portland. She has 2 kids. A husband named Doug, Doug is fine. Doug is a very fine man. Slightly dull. She's happy with him. When she was 20, she was engaged to a man named Theo, who taught biology at the community college where she was taking prerequisites. He was 34. He told her he was 28. He told her a lot of things that were not true. He hid her for a year and a half before I understood what was happening. I was 25. I was doing some of the things I mentioned for money. I did not have the personal resources to do the things I can do now. A man I worked for at the time, his name was Crawford. He is dead now. He died in 2009. Crawford figured out what was going on with my sister before I did. He sat me down and he said, Victor, I am going to help you move your sister out of that apartment and into a room in a house of a woman I know, and you are going to pay me back by working for me for another year, and I am going to teach you, while you are working for me, how to do this kind of thing for other people. And that is what we did. She moved into the house of a woman named Ida, who lived in Richmond, Virginia. She stayed for 6 months. I paid Crawford back. Crawford taught me what he said he would teach me. Marguerite went back to school. She met Doug the following year. Theo went to prison for something unrelated in 2003. I have not seen him since. That is the whole of it. Lena listened without moving. Does she know what you do? She knows I have money. She knows I don't talk about where it came from, and she has stopped asking. She knows that I am not the man I was at 25. That is what she needs to know. She is a pediatric dentist. She does not need to know the rest of it. Do you see her? Every Thanksgiving, every 4th of July. Sometimes Christmas, if the kids are sick and they don't travel, I go to them. She is the only person in the world who knew me before. She is the only one who would recognize a photograph of me at 15. Without her, I don't have a record of that person. Victor. Yeah. Thank you for telling me. You asked. It was a fair question. It wasn't a fair question. It was a nosy question. A fair question is a nosy question, some of the time. That's how you know it is a fair question. She smiled. She stood up. She had meant to stay longer, and she found that she did not want to stay longer, not because she wanted to leave him, but because she had said the things she had come in to say, and because sitting in the library with him past the moment she had said it felt like a different conversation, one she was not ready for yet. He seemed to understand this without her saying it. He picked up the book again. He opened it to the page he had kept his thumb in. Good night, Lena. Good night, Victor. She went to bed at 9. She lay in the dark in the big room at the end of the hall. She thought about Marguerite, who was a pediatric dentist in Portland. She thought about a woman named Ida in Richmond, who had once given Marguerite a room. She thought about Crawford, who had taught a young man named Victor how to take apart men like Theo. She thought about the chain of rooms going back, woman after woman, each one paying forward what she could not repay. She thought about the spot at Seaford Community. She had 2 months before the January deadline. The cast came off on a Thursday, 2 days shy of 6 weeks. Dr. Silver came himself. The moment he cut the fiberglass away, her left arm came out pale and thin and shrunken inside its own skin. And for a moment, looking at it, Lena felt a wave of revulsion. It was her arm,
but it was also somebody else's. A sick person's arm, a dead person's arm. She flexed her fingers. The fingers moved. Her wrist moved. The elbow was stiff and strange. Physical therapy, Dr. Silver said. Twice a week for 8 weeks. It will come back. It will not come back by itself. It is not a loyal arm. It has to be reminded. Okay? The strength will be 80% by March. The last 20% is on you. It is not medicine. It is work. Okay. Miss Carter. Yes.
The arm is going to heal. The rest of it, I am not qualified to treat. I'm going to say one thing, and then I am going to leave, and you are not going to have to hear anything from me again. You are a young woman. This was a clean break, and you are going to have full use of the arm, and nobody is ever going to look at you on a beach in 15 years and know that it happened. I'm saying this because you need to hear it from a doctor. The arm does not remember. Your arm is going to forgive you. The rest of it is up to you. Thank you, Dr. Silver.
Good luck. He packed his bag. He left. Lena stood up. She walked in a small circle around the room, swinging the arm gently at her side. It hung strange. It felt like her arm. It felt like somebody else's. It would be both, she understood, for a long time. That was the work. She did the physical therapy. She did the therapy with Dr. Navarro. She filled out the application to Seaford Community. She wrote the personal statement with a pencil on a yellow legal pad. At the kitchen table, on a Wednesday afternoon, with a cup of tea going cold beside her. She wrote about her mother. She wrote about the ice cream place on the boardwalk. She wrote about the 7 years that had come between. She did not write about Derek by name, but she wrote around him, the shape of him, the years of him, and then she wrote about a diner in Ashford Heights and a stranger in a corner booth and a phone call that a woman had made from a bathtub. She did not write his name either. She wrote about a phone call. She wrote about the sound of another person's voice on the line. When she was done, she read it back and she hated it. And she put it in a drawer for 3 days, and then she took it out and read it again, and she did not hate it anymore. She applied. On the first Saturday in December, she drove to Seaford. 4 hours. She had not been back in 7 years. She was afraid she would not recognize it. She did recognize it. It was smaller than she remembered, which is a thing towns do when you come back to them. She drove past her mother's old house. Somebody had repainted it blue. She did not stop. She drove to the boardwalk. The ice cream place was still there, under a different name. The breakwater was still there. She walked out to the end of it. It was cold. Her arm was tucked in a sling. The wind off the Atlantic smelled exactly the way she remembered. She sat on the end of the breakwater for about an hour. She cried, a little, a quiet one, the good kind. She drove back to Victor's house in the dark. The house was lit up when she came through the gate. She let herself in with her code. Esther was in the kitchen. How was it? It was Seaford. It was smaller. It was fine. Victor's in the library. Okay. She went to the library. She stood in the doorway. Victor looked up. She did not come in. I'm going to move out, she said, in the spring, when the semester starts. I'm going to get an apartment in Seaford. He set the book down. Okay? 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 That's all? What else would it be? She looked at him for a long moment. I want you to know, she said, that it's not because of you, it's because of me. I need to live somewhere that I pay the rent on. I need to have a job and loans and a roommate and ramen, and I need to have a life where the size of it is the size I can afford. I can't go to nursing school from here. It would be a strange thing. It would be a thing I had to explain to people. I don't want to explain anything to anyone. I want to be one more 28-year-old woman in a nursing program with a cheap apartment and a used car. I want that very badly, more than I have wanted anything in years. I know. You know? I knew 2 weeks ago. I think Esther knew a month ago. You have been packing the same 3 sweaters in and out of your dresser for 2 weeks, Lena. You have been making a list in your head. I have not been looking at the list. I have been waiting for you to tell me about it. Oh, it's okay. It was your list to make. You're not upset. I'm going to miss you. That's different from upset. Those two feelings are allowed to exist in the same man at the same time. I am going to miss you, and I am proud of you. And I think what you are going to do is the right thing, all 3 of those at once. She stepped into the library. She walked across the rug. She did not sit down. She stood in front of his chair. Victor? Yes. Can I hug you? He looked up at her. It was the first time she understood that she had asked a man to touch her in over 7 years. Yes. She bent down. She put her arms around his shoulders. He put his arms around her back carefully, the way a man holds a thing he does not want to break. She held on for about 5 seconds. He held on for 5 seconds. Then she let go. He let go at the exact same moment, without hurrying her, without holding her any longer than she held him. She stood up. She wiped her face with the back of her good hand. Thank you. Lena. I know, don't thank you.
No, I was going to say something else. Oh, sorry. What? Thank you. She blinked. For what? For letting me do this, for letting the room be a room, for letting the house be a house. You did not owe me this. You could have left in the morning. You stayed. You let me be useful. That has been the best thing that has happened to me in a long time. I wanted you to know that. She stood there in the firelight for a minute. She did not know what to say to it, so she did not say anything. She nodded. She turned. She went to the door of the library. At the door, she stopped. Good night, Victor. Good night, Lena. She went up the stairs. She went down the long hallway to the room at the end. She closed the door. She stood with her back against it for a long moment. Then she went to her desk and she opened the notebook she had been keeping, and she wrote at the top of a fresh page in pencil, Seaford Spring, and under it a list. Things to find, things to buy, things to do, an apartment, a roommate maybe, a part-time job, a mattress, a lamp. She wrote the list. Her left hand worked. It was still weaker than her right, but it worked. It wrote. Outside the window, the first snow of the year was starting, small dry flakes drifting past the glass in the yellow light of the porch lamp below. The snow that started that December night kept coming, on and off, for most of the winter. And by the time Lena left the house on Moreau's property, the whole long driveway had been plowed and replowed so many times that the banks on either side were higher than the roof of her car. She left on the second Saturday in March. She had a car loaded with things she owned. She had 6 weeks before orientation at Seaford Community. She had an apartment on the 3rd floor of a walk-up on Harbor Street, 2 blocks from the water, above a coffee shop called the Lighthouse, that was run by a woman named Bin Nguyen, who had come to Seaford from Philadelphia 12 years earlier and who, Lena would learn within a month, made the best banh mi in the state of New Jersey. The apartment was 850 square feet. The radiator banged, the bathroom tile was avocado green and had been avocado green since 1972. The rent was $1,100 a month, which Lena could almost afford on the shifts she had already lined up at a diner called Freddy's on the boardwalk, 3 blocks from her front door. She had a roommate, briefly, a woman named Carmen, who worked nights at the urgent care, and who moved out in April to move in with a boyfriend Lena never met. And after Carmen, she had the apartment to herself, and she paid the rent alone, and she ate a lot of rice and eggs, and she was, for the first time in her adult life, the only person responsible for whether the lights stayed on. It was harder than she had expected, and it was better than she had expected, and both of these things were true at the same time. She drove out of Moreau's gate on a Saturday morning at 11. Esther stood on the gravel circle in her fleece jacket with her arms folded against the cold. She did not cry. Esther did not cry at goodbyes, as a matter of policy, a policy she had explained to Lena over coffee 2 weeks earlier. Honey, I have said goodbye to a lot of girls in this driveway, and if I cried at every one of them, I would have no eyes left by now, so I do not cry, and the girls do not cry, and we wave, and that is that. They had waved. Lena had cried about a half-mile down the road, pulled into the shoulder for 10 minutes until she was done, and then she had driven the rest of the way to Seaford without crying. Victor had said goodbye to her the night before. He had come to her doorway at 10. He had knocked. She had said, "Come in." He had not come in. He had stayed in the doorway the way he always did on the rare occasions he was on that floor. "I'm not going to be here in the morning." "Okay. I have a meeting that I didn't move because I didn't want you to feel like the morning was... I didn't want there to be a scene at the driveway. I thought it would be easier if I wasn't there." "That's... Yeah, probably. Esther will see you off." "Okay. Paula already knows you're going. She will keep being your lawyer for as long as you want her.
The retainer runs through October. When October comes, she'll send you an invoice for the next year if you want her to keep going. If you don't want her to keep going, you tell her, and you owe nothing. Your decision, as always. Okay, I want to say one thing, and then I want you to go to sleep, and I don't want you to have to say anything back. Is that all right? Okay? The door here is open. The room here is your room for as long as I own this house, which is going to be for the rest of my life. You're not going to use it. I know that. But I want you to know that it is there. If things go wrong in Seaford in some small way, like your car breaks, you call me and it is fixed. If things go wrong in some large way, like he finds you, you call me and it is fixed. You're not going to owe me anything for either of those things, and you're not going to have to ask twice. That is the deal. Other than that, I am not going to call you. I am not going to email you. I am not going to drive past you. I am not going to show up at your door in Seaford. If you want to be in touch, you be in touch. If you don't, you don't. I want the line to be in your hand. She had sat on the edge of the bed. She had looked at him in the doorway for a long time. Victor. Yeah. Can I ask you one thing? Yes. You're 43. You're not ugly. You have a lot of money. Why isn't there a woman in this house? He had been quiet for a long moment. There was, he said. Her name was Alessia. She died of ovarian cancer when she was 36, 8 years ago. She was my wife. We were together for 11 years. The library was her library. Most of the books in it were hers. She picked out that wing chair. She picked out the rug. There has not been another woman in this house since. Not because I am waiting for her to come back. I know she is not coming back. Because I have not met a woman since Alessia because the house is the house she and I made, and I'm not going to ask a woman to live in a house that somebody else furnished. When I meet a woman I want to spend time with, I will sell this house and buy a different one, and she and I will furnish it together. I have not met that woman. I may not meet her. I'm okay either way. I wanted you to know this, because I did not want you driving to Seaford with a question in your head that had an easy answer. Lena had sat with that for a minute. I'm sorry. It's okay. Victor. Yeah. Did you ever want the question to have a different answer? For me, I mean, was part of this, I'm asking badly, I'm sorry. You're not asking badly. I understand the question. I don't know if I want the answer. I'll give you the honest one anyway, and you can decide after what to do with it. The answer is no. Not because of anything about you. You're a good and serious woman, and any man who spent 6 months in a house with you would have to have a heart of stone not to notice that. I am not a man with a heart of stone. I noticed. But noticing is not the same as wanting, and I did not want Lena, because the shape of my wanting a woman who walked into my house with a broken arm was a shape I was not going to allow in myself. It would have made all of this into a different story. A worse one. I decided a long time ago, after Marguerite, that I was not going to be a man who confused saving a woman with loving her. I'm not that man. I hope you leave here believing that I'm not that man. I don't know what else to tell you. She had nodded. Thank you for telling me. Okay? Victor. Yeah. I don't love you either. I want you to know that. I love you a little, the way you love a person who... I love you a little, but not the other way. I was worried I was going to start to. I was worried that I was going to confuse it. I didn't. Good. I'm glad. So am I. Okay. Good night, Lena. Good night, Victor. He had closed the door. She had slept well, better than she had slept in weeks, and in the morning she had put the last of her things in the car, and she had waved to Esther, and she had driven out. She did not see him again for 14 months. The first year in Seaford was hard. It was hard in the ordinary way things are hard for women in their late 20s starting over. She worked 40 hours a week at Freddy's on the boardwalk, the dinner shift Tuesday through Saturday, and she took a full course load in the nursing program starting in August. Anatomy, physiology, microbiology, a statistics class she had to drop and retake in the spring, a nutrition class she did not need but took anyway because she liked the professor. She worked 7 to close, And she went home and studied until 1 or 2 in the morning, and she slept until 8, and she was at the coffee shop downstairs at 9:30 reading textbooks at the window. And Ben brought her a banh mi at noon without being asked because Ben had decided within the first 3 weeks that Lena was too thin and that this was a problem Ben would solve personally. Lena gained 7 pounds in her first semester. She got a B in statistics, a B plus in anatomy, an A in microbiology, an A in nutrition. She failed her first physiology exam in September, and she cried in the parking lot of the building for about 20 minutes, and then she went home and studied harder and got a 91 on the next exam and a 94 on the final. She learned slowly how to be a student again. She had not been one since she was 20. She went to therapy every Monday morning. Dr. Navarro had moved the appointment to accommodate the drive. Lena drove up the parkway, 90 minutes each way, every Monday, and she sat in Dr. Navarro's office at 11 o'clock, and she did the work, and she drove home. It was a long drive for a 1-hour appointment. She made the drive for 2.5 years. The work was not linear. She had bad weeks. She had one very bad week in February, her first February in Seaford, when it snowed for 3 days and she was trapped in the apartment, and she did not sleep, and she thought for about 48 hours that she might be going crazy. Her hands shook. Her chest was tight. She kept hearing sounds outside her door that were not there. She called Dr. Navarro on a Sunday night, which she had been told she could do in an emergency and had never done. Doctor. Navarro picked up on the third ring. Hi, Lena. What's going on? I think I'm losing my mind. Okay, tell me, Lena told her. It took about 20 minutes. Dr. Navarro listened. When Lena was done, Dr. Navarro said, "That is a panic attack that has lasted 48 hours. That is a thing that happens to women who have lived the way you have lived. Your body is catching up with itself. It has noticed, finally, that it is safe, and it is now having the response it could not have before. It is going to pass. It is going to pass tonight, probably, or tomorrow. I want you to do 3 things. I want you to eat a meal, a real one. I don't care if it is cereal. I want it to be a bowl of something you sit down and eat. I want you to take a shower, a hot one, long. I want you to call Bean downstairs and ask her if you can sit in her kitchen for an hour while she closes the shop. You don't have to talk. You just have to be near another person. She will let you. Do you trust me on this?" "Yes." "Go do those things in that order. Eat, shower, bin, then call me back in 2 hours." Lena did those things. She ate a bowl of cereal. She took a shower so long the hot water ran out. She went downstairs and knocked on the back door of the lighthouse, and Ben looked at her face for about 2 seconds and said, "Come on, get in here. Sit down. Don't talk. I'm making soup." And Lena sat at a little table in the back of the coffee shop while Ben made pho for about an hour, and at the end of the hour, Ben put a bowl of pho in front of her and said, "Eat the whole thing. Don't be polite." And Lena ate it, and she cried into the bowl a little, and Ben pretended not to notice. She called Dr. Navarro back at 9. The shaking was down to her hands. The tightness in her chest was gone. She could breathe. "Good," Dr. Navarro said. "Okay, that is the worst it is going to get. I promise you that. That is your bottom. From here on out, when something like this starts, you're going to remember that you survived this one, and that will make the next one easier and everyone after that. This was your floor. It is behind you now." It was not behind her forever. There were more panic attacks. There was another bad stretch in June, right before her first summer shift at Freddy's when the boardwalk got busy and the noise reminded her of the diner in Ashford Heights. There was a night in October, in her second year, when a man at table 9 grabbed her wrist to get her attention, and she froze for 10 full seconds with a coffee pot shaking in her hand, and she had to go into the walk-in freezer and count to 100 before she could come back out. But the bottom in February had been the bottom. Dr. Navarro had been right. She started to build a life. Ben became a friend, a real one. They had dinner together on Sunday nights at Ben's apartment above the shop, Ben and her teenage daughter Mai, who was 15 and thought Lena was the coolest person she had ever met because Lena was going to be a nurse and knew how to draw blood. Lena was not yet allowed to draw blood, but Mai did not need to know that, and Lena taught Mai how to take a pulse at the wrist and the neck, and Mai practiced on her mother until her mother got annoyed. Lena made a friend in her program, a woman named Karen, 44, a single mother of 2 teenagers, going back for her nursing degree after 20 years of working at a call center. Karen and Lena studied together on Tuesday nights at Karen's kitchen table. Karen's teenage daughter made them terrible coffee. Karen's teenage son played video games in the next room. Lena found that she liked being in the noise of a family. She had not been in the noise of a family in a long time. She made another friend at Freddy's, a line cook named Miguel, 35, a widower. Miguel's wife had died of a stroke 2 years earlier. He had 2 little girls, 4 and 6. On slow Tuesday nights, he and Lena ate family meal together at the counter after the last table left, and he told her about his daughters, and she told him, once a little, about where she had come from. Not all of it, just the shape. Miguel did not push. Miguel said, "That man is a coward," and he kept eating his meatloaf, and Lena understood, sitting there, that she had said the thing out loud to a man, and the man had said that man is a coward and had not asked any other questions, and the relief of that sat on her chest like a warm cat for about a week. She did not date. She did not try to date. Karen tried to set her up once, with Karen's brother-in-law, a dentist named Phil, and Lena said, "I'm not ready," and Karen said, "Honey, you don't have to justify it. I was just throwing a name out there. Phil's fine, but he's not for everyone," and that was that. She was not ready. She knew she was not ready. Dr. Navarro had told her in the first month that she was not to date for at least a year, and that if she wanted to date after a year, she should talk about it in session first. She had not talked about it in session. She was not ready. Derek was in prison by the end of her second semester. Paula called her on a Friday afternoon in May and said, "I thought you might want to know. Your former boyfriend was indicted yesterday in federal court in Trenton, along with his cousin Raymond Whalen and 3 other men. I'm sending you the complaint. You don't have to read it. It's 92 pages, and most of it is about shipping manifests. The short version is that he's looking at somewhere between 5 and 8 years. Your name appears exactly 0 times in the document. You are not a witness. You are not a victim in this matter. You do not have to testify about anything. This is not your problem. I thought you should just know that it happened." "Okay. How do you feel?" Lena thought about it. "I don't feel anything. That is a fine and reasonable thing to feel. You can also feel other things later, and any of them will be valid, but nothing is also a valid thing to feel." Paula: "Yeah. Thank you. Don't." Why does everyone in Victor's orbit hate being thanked? Because thanking implies owing, and nobody in Victor's orbit takes money for the things they are thanked for. It is a peculiarity. You will pick it up too. Give it a year. Lena hung up. She sat on the couch in her little apartment. She thought about Derek in a federal holding cell somewhere. She waited for something to rise in her: anger, triumph, grief, anything. Nothing rose. It was the nothing Paula had said was allowed, and Lena let it be the nothing. She went back to studying for her anatomy final. She graduated on a Saturday in May, 2 years and 3 months after she had moved to Seaford. The nursing program was an associate's, 2 years, a state licensing exam, and then the practical rotations at the small hospital in town. She passed the exam on her first try. She finished in the top 15% of her class. She wore a green gown. Ben came. Mai came. Karen came. Miguel came with his 2 little girls, who stood in the aisle and shrieked, "Miss Lena," when Lena walked past, and Lena laughed so hard she almost dropped her diploma. Dottie came up from Ashford Heights. Dottie brought her cousin Ruth from Lexington, who it turned out was a small, round woman in her 70s who had driven 16 hours in a Buick to see a woman she had never met graduate from nursing school. Ruth cried through the whole ceremony. Afterward, at the reception in the cafeteria, Ruth grabbed Lena by both hands and said, "I heard about the couch that pulled out. Honey, I'm so glad you never needed it. I am so glad." Lena hugged Ruth for a long time. Esther came. Esther drove up alone in her little Subaru. She sat in the second row, and when Lena walked across the stage, Esther did not stand up or cheer the way Ben and Mai and Karen and the girls were cheering. Esther just nodded, once, slow and deliberate, a nod that said, "I see you. I saw you before. I see you now." Lena saw it from the stage. It undid her more than any of the cheering. Victor did not come. She had told him about the graduation 6 weeks earlier in a text message. It was the 3rd text message she had sent him in the 14 months since she had driven out of his gate. He had responded to all 3 within about 10 minutes. He had asked no follow-up questions in any of them. To this one, he had written, "Congratulations." I'm proud of you. I'm not going to come. The day should be yours and a room full of people who met you after. Esther will be there. I hope the weather is good." The weather was good. After the ceremony, in the parking lot, Esther hugged Lena for the first time. It was a careful hug, the way Esther did things. Short, real, no tears. "He asked me to tell you one thing." "Okay?" "He said to tell you that Alessia would have liked you. That's it. He said he wasn't sure whether it was okay to say, and that I should use my judgment. I decided it was okay to say." Lena did not speak for a moment. Then she said, "Tell him thank you." "I will not." "Tell him thanks." "Not thank you." "Thanks. One word. It's different." Esther thought about it. "Okay, that I will do." "Esther." "Yeah. Come inside for pie. There's pie." "Is it Ruth's pie?" "It is Ruth's pie." "Then I'll come." They had pie. Ruth cried over pie. Ben laughed at Ruth. Miguel's girls ate 3 pieces each and then ran in circles in the cafeteria until Miguel caught them. Dottie sat in a folding chair with her shoes off and her feet up on another folding chair and told Karen a long story about a man she had almost married in 1984. Karen laughed so hard she had to put her pie down. Lena sat in the middle of it. She was 29 years old. She had a diploma in her hand. She had a job lined up at the hospital in town. The night shift on the medical floor starting in 2 weeks, $46,000 a year with benefits. She had an apartment she paid for. She had a used car that ran. She had friends who had driven hours to sit in folding chairs to watch her walk across a stage. She had, inside her chest, a quiet that had been there for about 6 months now. A quiet that did not feel like waiting for the next bad thing, but like the ordinary quiet of an ordinary room at an ordinary hour. The kind of quiet that was simply quiet and nothing else. She thought, sitting there, this is what it is. This is the thing. This is what it feels like. She did not cry. She ate her pie. She started at the hospital on a Monday in June. She worked the 7 to 7 a shift on the 4th floor medical ward. The first month nearly killed her. Her feet swelled, her back spasmed. She misread a chart on her second shift, and a senior nurse named Pat corrected her in a way that was brisk and kind, and that Lena thought about for 3 days afterward because she realized, at the end of the 3 days, that Pat had corrected her without making her feel small, and that this was a thing that had been possible all along, that criticism did not have to be humiliation, that she had known a world in which every mistake was a spark on dry grass, and that this was not that world. By her 3rd month, she was running her shifts. By her 6th, she was training the new hires. By her 9th, she had a reputation on the floor for being the nurse you wanted in the room when a patient was afraid, because Lena had a way of being in the room with an afraid person that other nurses did not quite have, because Lena knew from the inside what being afraid felt like. And she talked to afraid people the way Victor Moreau had once talked to her on the phone from a bathtub. Low, steady, one sentence at a time. Here is what is going to happen. Here is what we are going to do. Stay with me. I am already here. She took the job personally. She took too many shifts. Pat pulled her aside in October and said, "Honey, you need to take a day off. This is not a sprint. I have been doing this for 26 years, and the ones who burn up in 2 years are always the ones who are the best at month 6. You are not allowed to burn up on my floor. That's a rule. Take Thursday off." Lena took Thursday off. She started volunteering on Saturday mornings at a small place in town called the Shoreline Women's Center, which ran a shelter for women leaving violent partners. She did not tell the director what her background was. She said she was a nurse and she had some Saturdays free. The director, a woman named Georgia, said, "Great, can you do blood pressures and a little counseling on meds? We have a lot of women who come in on medications they don't understand." Lena did blood pressures. She did a lot of counseling on meds. She sat with women in the kitchen of the shelter on Saturday mornings, and she drank bad coffee with them, and she did not tell them her story. She let them tell theirs. She had learned in Dr. Navarro's office that her story was not something to hand to a woman in crisis like a gift, that what a woman in crisis needed was not a model to imitate, but a person to be believed by. So Lena did not perform her story. She was just a nurse in a kitchen on a Saturday morning, drinking bad coffee, listening. One Saturday in November, her 10th month at the hospital, she was driving home from the shelter when she stopped at the lighthouse at the end of the point. It was cold. The wind off the Atlantic was the wind off the Atlantic. She got out of the car. She walked out to the railing. She stood there for a long time. She thought about her mother. Baby, don't settle. I hear you, Mama. Say it. I won't settle. She said it out loud to the water. Nobody heard her. She said it anyway. She met Theo in March of the following year. His name being Theo was an accident and a problem because Theo was the name of the man who had once hit Victor's sister Marguerite. And when Lena first heard it, she almost turned around and walked out of the coffee shop. And she told Ben about this later, and Ben said, "Honey, most men named Theo have not hit anybody. You cannot abandon the name to the one bad one. That is unfair to the other Theos. I will not allow it." This Theo was a nurse. He worked on the third floor of the hospital, pediatrics. He was 31. He was tall and skinny, and he had the kind of face that was not handsome at rest, but that got handsome when he laughed. He laughed a lot. He had a daughter, Hattie, who was 5, from a marriage that had ended 3 years earlier. His ex-wife lived in Seaford too, 2 streets over from Theo, and they shared custody in a way that had taken 2 years to work out, and that they were both, finally, proud of. Lena met him at the coffee shop. He was in line ahead of her. He ordered a large black coffee and a blueberry muffin. He dropped the muffin on the floor. He laughed about it. He apologized to Ben. Ben said, "I will make you another muffin. Go sit down, but you have to pay for both of them." And Theo said, "Fair." And he paid for both of them. And he went and sat down. And then he looked up at Lena in line and he said, "I'm sorry, do I know you from the hospital?" And Lena said, "I work on 4. And he said, "I work on 3. Hi, I'm Theo." And that was how it started. She did not date him immediately. She sat on it for a month. She talked to Dr. Navarro about it. Dr. Navarro asked her a lot of questions, none of which were, "Are you sure?" And at the end of the session said, "Lena, you have been in therapy for almost 3 years, and you have a life, and you have friends, and you have a career, and you have money in the bank, and you have not been in a panic in 8 months. You are not the same woman who walked in here the first time. You are allowed to decide what you are ready for, and I will back you whatever you decide." Lena went on 1 coffee date with Theo, then 1 dinner date, then 6 more dinner dates over 6 weeks. She did not let him come to her apartment for 4 months. The first time she let him come over, she made him sit on the couch, and she sat on a chair across from him, and she told him, slowly, in her own words, in the order she chose, the shape of what had happened to her. She did not tell him Victor's name. She did not tell him about the folder or the restraining order or the federal indictment. She told him the shape, the 7 years, the bathroom door, the call, the house, the therapy, the years of work. She said, at the end of it, "I'm telling you this because I'm not going to be rushed. I'm not going to be guessed about. I'm not going to have another conversation about this 5 months from now where I have to explain what I already told you today. I'm telling you once. I'm telling you clearly. You can ask me questions now, and I'll answer the ones I want to. After tonight, I'm not going to keep explaining. If you need more, you go get more from somebody else." Theo sat with his hands folded on his knees and his eyes wet, and he did not say anything for about a minute. Then he said, "Okay, okay, okay. I don't have any questions right now. I might later. I'll ask them one at a time. I won't make you explain twice. I won't bring it up in a fight. I won't tell anybody in my family about any of it without your permission. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that that happened to you. I'm really, really glad that you're here." "Okay. Can I hug you?" "Yes." He hugged her. He did not hold on too long. He let go when she let go. He went home at 10. He texted her, an hour later, "Thank you for trusting me with that. I won't do anything with it except carry it gently." She read the message 3 times. She put the phone on the nightstand. She cried for a few minutes. Then she fell asleep. They dated for 2 years before they moved in together. They got engaged in the 3rd year. They got married in the 4th. It was a small wedding, 40 people, on the beach in Seaford in September. Ben made the food. Mai was a bridesmaid. Karen was a bridesmaid. Dottie flew in from Kentucky. She had moved there the year before to be closer to Ruth, and Dottie walked Lena down the sand because Lena had asked her to. And Dottie had cried in the grocery store in Lexington when Lena called to ask. Esther came. Esther sat in the 4th row in a pale gray dress and did her one slow, deliberate nod. Victor did not come. He had sent a card. Not a wedding card. A regular blank card, the kind he would have picked up at a bookstore, with a painting of a pear on the front. Inside he had written, in his small, flat handwriting, Lena, I hope the day is exactly the day you want it to be. Alessia would have liked your dress. I have not seen your dress, but I am confident. Be well. V. She had read it 3 times. She had put it in the shoebox of her mother's letters. She did not invite him to the wedding. She had thought about it for weeks. In the end, she had decided, and had told Dr. Navarro about the decision, that Victor was a chapter of her life that had closed, and that closing it had been one of the things that had made her ready for Theo, and that inviting him to the wedding would have been, for her, a way of keeping it open, and she did not want it open. She wanted it closed. She wanted it honored and closed. She wrote him a letter instead, 3 days after the wedding, a long one. She wrote about the first year in Seaford, and the second year, and the hospital, and the shelter, and Theo. She wrote about Pat. She wrote about Ben. She wrote about Dr. Navarro. She wrote about her mother. She wrote, at the end, Victor, I am a woman with a life now. I made the life. You handed me the raw materials. I built it. I want you to know that I have built it. I want you to know that I am happy most days. I want you to know that the happiness is not a thing you gave me. It is a thing you made room for. Those are different. I am grateful forever for the room. The rest is mine. Be well. She put it in the mail. She did not ask for a response. He did not send one. 6 months later, Esther called her to tell her that Victor had gotten engaged to a woman named Helen, a veterinarian he had met at a conference his sister had dragged him to. Helen was 45. She had 3 grown kids from a first marriage. Victor had sold the big house and bought a smaller one with her on a lake in Pennsylvania. Esther had gone with them. Esther liked Helen. Helen, Esther said, was a woman who did not take any of Victor's quiet for granted and who made him laugh at least once an hour. Esther approved. Lena cried when she hung up. She cried for about 15 minutes. They were good tears. She understood them. She called Theo into the living room and she said, Theo, that was Esther. Victor got engaged. He's okay. He's going to be okay. And Theo sat on the couch with her and held her hand for a while. And he did not ask any questions because Theo had learned early that there were some parts of her she would tell him about in pieces if he was patient. And that patience was the only currency that worked with her. He was patient. He was a good man. He was not perfect. He left his socks on the floor. He hated talking on the phone. He had a temper about traffic that she had to talk him down from twice in the first year. Not scary, just loud. A stream of muttered cursing at other drivers that she had to explain gently made her flinch in a way that was about her and not about him. He had understood. He had stopped. He had done the work. He was a good man, and he did the work. And those were, Lena had come to understand, the 2 things she was going to need, and they were enough. They had a baby, eventually. A girl. They named her Mara, for Lena's mother. Maribel, Mara for short. Mara was born in the spring of Lena's 36th year, on a Tuesday morning, in the hospital where Lena worked, on the floor above the one where Lena worked. Theo was there. Pat was there. Pat had been promoted to charge nurse on the maternity floor by then. And Pat delivered the baby, and when Mara came out crying, with her small wet red face and her small furious mouth, Lena held her on her chest and looked at the ceiling of the delivery room and said, very quietly, Hi, Mama. Theo, standing by the bed, did not ask who she was talking to. He understood. Mara was, like all babies, not entirely a smooth experience. She did not sleep for the first 4 months. Lena cried in the shower most mornings for a while. Theo cried in the car some afternoons. They argued. They made up. They asked Theo's ex-wife to take Hattie for 2 weekends in a row so they could sleep, and Hattie's mother did it without complaining, and Lena wrote her a long thank you note that Hattie's mother kept in a drawer. They learned the baby slowly. The baby, slowly, learned them. Ben was Mara's godmother. Mai was her honorary big sister. Dottie, 72 by then, came up from Kentucky and held Mara for hours at a stretch and said, This one is going to be a handful, Lena. You are in for it. And Dottie was not wrong. When Mara was 2, Lena took her to visit her mother's grave in Seaford, at the little cemetery by the Methodist church. She had gone a few times before, by herself. She had never taken Mara. Mara was too small to understand, but Lena had decided it was time anyway. She sat on the grass in front of the headstone and she let Mara run in small circles on the grass, and she told her mother out loud, in a low voice, about the last 10 years. She told her about the bathroom door. She She told her about the phone call. She told her about the house, and Esther, and the room, and the code to the door. She told her about Seaford, and Ben, and Dr. Navarro, and Pat. She told her about Theo. She told her about Mara. She told her about Victor, and about Helen, and about the house on the lake in Pennsylvania. She told her at the end, "Mama, I didn't settle. I know it took a while. I know it took longer than you would have wanted. But I didn't settle. I called, and a man came, and then I built the rest of it myself, and the rest of it is mine, Mama. It's all mine. And I didn't settle." Mara came running over to her, pigtails flying, cheeks red. Mara said, "Mama, up!" Lena picked her up. Mara put both small hands on Lena's face and squished her cheeks. Lena laughed. She walked back to the car with Mara on her hip. She buckled her into the car seat. She drove home. Theo was in the kitchen making dinner. Hattie was at the table doing homework. Hattie was 12 now, long-limbed and sarcastic, and Lena's, in her own quieter way, for 8 years running. "How was it?" Theo said, not looking up from the pot. "It was good. I told her everything." "All of it?" "All of it." "What did she say?" "She didn't say anything, but I think she knew already." Theo smiled. He came over. He kissed the top of her head. He went back to the pot. Lena set Mara down. Mara ran to Hattie. Hattie pretended to be annoyed and let Mara climb into her lap. Lena stood in her kitchen and watched them. She thought about the woman she had been at 28. She thought about the bathroom on Linden Street. She thought about the card in her bra. She thought about the 11 months of carrying it. She thought about the moment in the tub when she had dialed. She thought about how small the decision had seemed and how large it had turned out to be. The things she wanted people to understand if she ever told the whole story. And she did tell it, eventually, in small pieces, to her daughters as they grew, to the women at the shelter she kept volunteering at for the rest of her working life, to the nursing students she started mentoring in her 40s. The thing she wanted them to understand more than anything was that the call had not saved her. A man had not saved her. A house had not saved her. A door with a code on it had not saved her. Those things had given her the space to save herself. And the space had mattered. The space had been everything. She would never pretend the space had not been everything. Without the space, she would not have survived. But the saving was the work, and the work had been hers. The years in Seaford. The Monday morning drives to Dr. Navarro. The panic attacks. The statistics exams. The bad coffee in the shelter kitchen. The patience with Theo's temper about traffic. The decision not to date for a year. The decision after a year to date carefully. The decision to marry. The decision to have a child. The decision over and over to stay. To not go back. To not leave. To not run. To stay inside the life she was building, even on the days the life felt too big for her. Those were hers. The phone call had been a door. The man on the other end of the phone call had held the door open. What she had walked through the door into had been a long and ordinary and often painful and sometimes beautiful and mostly just hers life. And the life had been built by her, one ordinary day at a time, for the rest of her ordinary days. That was the story. That was the whole of it. The call that saved her had not saved her. It had asked her one question on a wet October night in a bathroom with a shattered arm and a man breaking down the door. The question had been this: "Are you going to fight?" She had said yes. Everything after that had been her answer, written slowly, in her own hand, for the rest of her life.